What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the long-awaited album review. Probably when I started the Beatles series, the one I was excited to review, the one I'm sure Jason was super excited to review, and I think most Beatles fans was excited to see us review. If you guys have been catching up on this album review series, the wait is now over. The Abbey Road album review, and I got four awesome people joining me to talk about this remarkable Beatles album. Ryan Cam, Nick from Townsend 505, Jason, the old millennial, and Scott, Sound Lab Studios. How you guys doing tonight?
Doing good. I've been looking forward to this just as much as you have, Jacob, because this album is it's a thing of beauty.
Still getting over, but it is what it is.
We've had a comment. Is this still happening? Well, it's happening right now. So thank you for joining us, David.
Oh, are we late?
Yeah.
Oh.
But yeah, this is a very exciting one to talk about. So without further ado, Jason, do you have any
Background information?
Yeah, so this is an interesting one to kind of talk about because it's like you can't really talk about this album without also talking about Let It Be, the album that comes afterwards, for a good reason, because they actually recorded Let It Be before they recorded Abbey Road. So it's one of those weird things where Abbey Road is the last album that they recorded, but Let It Be is the last album they put out. And so it's like one of those things like, is Abbey Road the last album or is Let It Be the last album? It's like Let It Be is chronologically the last album because they put it out in 1970, while this album came out in 1969. So you go Abbey Road, Let It Be, but in some ways this is kind of like their last album that they kind of put out, or they recorded, and kind of the last we're going to hear the Beatles in some sense. So like I said, you kind of talk about the fact that they did Let It Be. They were doing that album in '69, and that album they decided to do something very different. Of course, as we all know, they also decided they were going to try to shoot a documentary at the same time, and they were going to do like a big concert at the end. It was this really grand kind of idea, I think, mostly from Paul McCartney. I think was kind of his idea, and so they didn't hire George Martin to produce that album, which George Martin produced like all their albums up to that point, and they decided to go in a different direction, and they hired Glenn Johns to be the producer. And then they also are shooting this documentary. So they go to a studio called Twickenham Studios, which is this huge studio. They're not used to it. Anyways, so it's completely different the way they kind of did that album. And of course, we'll get into that when we talk about Let It Be, but let's just say there's some tensions. There was some infighting. George Harrison quit for a week. It didn't go smoothly. It was very chaotic. And of course, you can watch the Let It Be documentary on Disney Plus or the Get Back 10-hour documentary, whatever it is. So there's a lot of documentary footage. And there's even a book. I have a book also that kind of chronicles everything that happens as well. So we have a pretty good picture of all this chaotic stuff happening during the Let It Be session or the Get Back session, whatever. Anyway, so they make that album. Glenn Johns, I guess, mixes it, whatever. He makes his, mix. And he shows it to the Beatles, I guess. And the Beatles were like, we don't really like this. They didn't like what Glenn Johns did, which is interesting because Glenn Johns was a good producer. He produced the Rolling Stones, I think, was his major band that he produced, but he produced the Who, I think, the Kinks.
Who's Next?
Yeah, he's
the producer for Who's Next and Who Are You?
Yeah, so yeah, he's considered a good producer, but for whatever reason, the Beatles didn't like what he did, and they're like, no, and they kind of like fired him, I guess. I don't know, like, no, we're not going to go with this. And of course, who they give it to next? Phil Spector. As we all talked about Phil Spector quite a bit because of the Phil Spector Christmas album, and we all know the Wall of Sound. He was very famous and big at this point because of the Wall of Sound. Is this interesting producer? Also, we talked about Brian Wilson was very influenced by Phil Spector and his way he produced the Beach Boys albums. anyway, so yeah, they give it to Phil Spector. This first time they kind of worked with Phil Spector, and they give it to him to work on and do his thing with it. So now Phil Spector has the Let It Be album that he's working on, mixing that, I guess, or whatever, and doing that thing. So while he's doing that, they decide, you know what, let's make another album. We got some material left over, I think, from all that session. I mean, I don't know if it's everything, but I do know that they worked on Maxwell's Silver Hammer. You can see that in the Get Back documentary, them working on, and the one guy hitting the anvil with the hammer. They put an actual anvil in. Anyways, so they worked on that. I believe George Harrison had written something at that point, and they worked on that a little bit. And you also can see Ringo Starr working on Octopus's Garden in the Get Back documentary, which is really cool because he just comes in and is like, hey, I'm working on this song. And him and George are working on this Octopus's Garden song. So we know some of that stuff's kind of left over. Anyways, and so this time they called George Martin back and they're like, hey, we want to make another album and we want you back as producing it, And George Martin was kind of hurt. He said in interviews that he was hurt that they didn't have him produce the Let It Be album and that they, And so when they called him, he was like, I'll do it, but we have to do it my way kind of thing. We have to do it like we used to do it. I want us to get in the Abbey Road studio and do it like kind of almost like old days, and all this. And they're like, yeah, let's do it like we used to. We want to. I think they kind of had a bad taste in their mouth after the Let It Be album recordings, and they kind of like, okay, we need to, get away from that. And they didn't know they didn't know this was going to be the last album. I mean, they didn't know they were going to break up necessarily, but I almost feel like in my back mind, they wanted to leave on a good note in some sense. And they like I said, they want to get that bad taste of their mouth because it was not a good experience with the Let It Be sessions, whatever. So I think they wanted to like, okay, let's do a really good album here. Not that the Let It Be, we'll talk about that. Not that that's a bad album, but I think they thought, let's do something that's, and we also know, I already talked about the White Album was chaotic too. So you can say 68 and 69, there was some chaos and some infighting and people quitting. And there's just been a lot of, ever since their manager, I've seen pass away, there's been a chaos in the band. So I always feel like this was an album that they kind of wanted to get back together. They wanted to kind of, work together again like a band and not just be individual. Like we talked about the White Album. White Album, it didn't feel like a band. It feels like just individuals doing solo work. So I feel like this is an album kind of coming back, trying to be the band again and working on these songs together again and being produced by their longtime producer, George Martin, anyways. So that's why they kind of came back and worked on this album. So Let It Be was being worked on at this point by Phil Spector. They're in the studio making this album, and they ended up putting this album before the Let It Be album came out in '69 anyway. So that's kind of a long story, but that's the backstory basically of how we got here to Abbey Road.
All right. Well, what's everybody's brief thoughts on this album? Starting with Ryan.
I mean, this thing is, it's stuffed to the gills with quality, like from large to small. Like the ones that I had heard of before were just as good as I remember them. And I'll talk about it when I get to Golden Slumbers / Carry That Weight. But I had heard that song before in a different context, but I had no idea it was a Beatles song. And I'll talk about why when we get there. Jacob knows what I'm talking about because I talked about it with him beforehand. I have not listened to every Beatles album. I will correct that eventually. I think, and I'm willing to go out on a limb on this and say up to down, this is their most consistently great album across the board because I love White Album, but that had some duds on there, and let's make no mistake. So I think in terms of consistency, this is their best one.
Okay. I thought this was a really good album, of course. I mean, it's Abbey Road. It's one of the most iconic albums of the 60s. I mean, that album cover behind Jason right there, it's one of the most iconic album covers. One of the things when you think about the Beatles, you think about that very iconic picture of them walking down Abbey Road. Of course, they have that theory of like, Paul's dead, Paul's a dead body. George Harrison's the great Gravedigger. Ringo's the, you know,
Someone's a priest or something. Yeah.
yeah. Well, yeah, John Lennon's the.
Yeah, I think so. White, right? Yeah.
Ringo's the Undertaker.
Yes, Ringo's the Undertaker. So
I drew a heavy sigh, seeing no one else had come. Band on the Run reference.
but I don't think this album's on the level of like, you know, Help or Revolver or Rubber Soul, in my opinion. I think those 3 albums are still their best. But through and through, this is a very consistent album.
Yeah, of course, as you mentioned, I have the gosh, I can't get the, where am I? Okay. I have a poster right behind me. It is my favorite poster, or my favorite image of the Beatles. It's so iconic, it's so cool. And I know Scott has it in his room as well, I believe. And I think a lot of Beatles fans have this. Yeah. Every Beatles fan loves that image of the Beatles walking across. And I just wanted to show that I walked across Abbey Roads back in 2015 when I was in London, and that's me there walking across Abbey Road. So I got to walk across the famous road. I mean, every Beatles fan I think wants to walk across that road. It is the most famous, maybe the most famous road in the world. I mean, if you go there, it's a working road, so there's lots of cars trying to get through, and there's a lot of tourists stopping traffic trying to get pictures walking across the Abbey Roads. I mean, that's how. I mean, it's one of the biggest tourist places to go, and it's definitely a bucket list for me. But anyways, sorry I had to talk about that part. But so yeah, this is obviously a really good album. It's obviously one of the most iconic albums of all time. It's not my favorite, actually. I guess we'll get into that. It's good. It's not my absolute favorite album of theirs, but man, it has some of my favorite songs, and we'll get into that.
Scott?
The first time that I ever heard this album was whenever I hadn't heard very many Beatles albums. I had heard Sgt. Pepper's and I think Rubber Soul were the only 2 Beatles albums I'd heard before I'd heard this. But when I was in college, and one of my roommates had this on record, and I saw it in his collection. I'm like, oh, cool, the Beatles. I know that picture. That's them walking across the road. That's a very famous image of the Beatles. And I looked at the track listing, and I'm like, oh, I know some of these songs. Come Together, Here Comes the Sun, Octopus's Garden. This looks like a good one. I said, hey, can I throw this on? He said, yeah. I went ahead and played it, and I was like, oh my gosh, like this is one of the greatest things I've ever heard. And I had to stop halfway through because I had to go to class because I was still in college. But when I came back and eventually heard that B-side, that's when everything changed. And I was like, okay, I already had respect for the Beatles, but hearing that they made like one continuous piece of music on the B-side of this album just gave me a whole new respect for them. This is just, in my personal opinion, unmatched in terms of albums. I very few albums get even close to matching the brilliance of this one here. This is, quite frankly speaking, my favorite album. I have a very special copy of it right here. This is a UK copy that I spent not too much money on, but a little more than a normal record. So I wanted to have an original UK copy. It's a second pressing because the apple's lined up. It's not misaligned, but still, it's an early enough copy. But
yeah.
I had to have an original one of these because from the UK, because that I don't know. I feel like I'm holding a piece of history right now. I was listening to this earlier. I was like, what I'm listening to isn't a copy of this album. I'm listening to the album right now. And every time I listen to this, it almost takes me back to that day whenever I first heard it and was like, so this is what music can be. This is what exploring the creative limits of music can be. And I love it so much. I've been waiting to talk about this album for, honestly, since the day I started this channel. Since the day I started this channel and was talking about David Bowie's Ziggy Stardust album. Not this channel, my channel. Since the day I started my channel. Sometimes I get confused that we're not all on the Music Junkies channel. We don't have one Music Junkies channel.
No.
That's why I make the Music Junkies Journey Through Music playlists so that we can get all of our videos lined up in one playlist from everyone's channels. But since the day I started my channel and I was talking about David Bowie's Ziggy Stardust album, like I'm super excited that one day I'm going to review Abbey Road, and it's today.
All right. So this is going to be hard to believe, but when I was first listening to the Beatles years ago, I thought they were overrated at one point. There was like some of the Beatles songs I was listening to, I'm like, these songs are okay, but I don't really get the love for them. I think as far as classic bands, I think I was more into the Eagles and CCR before I really got into the Beatles. But some of the songs that changed my stance on why I really started to really dig the Beatles. One, because my sister was getting into the Beatles before I did. And two, a lot of them were the songs off of the Abbey Road album, which we'll get to, like Come Together and Here Comes the Sun. I'm like, okay, maybe there's more of the Beatles than what I initially thought. And so, to make a long story short, this was the first Beatles album I ever heard. I don't remember how I bought this album, but I did. And I thought it was amazing then. I still think it's amazing now. And it's one of the best Beatles albums there is, especially as far as consistency, as far as production, as far as great songwriting. This is a fantastic album. This is a contender for one of the best Beatles albums, along with Sgt. Pepper, in my opinion. And I am excited to go through every single song on this album because it's some amazing stuff, starting with one of the most iconic Beatles songs of all time. Come Together.
The lyrics of this song make absolutely no sense, and I absolutely love it for it because they're on another one with this one. They're like talking about people in armchairs feeling their disease. I'm sure there's nothing to look into with that whatsoever. Like shooting Coca-Cola. They did get 1 + 1 + 1 = 3. At least they're good at their math. But I love this song so much. It's just a groove, you know? And I was listening to this in the car, like driving to work, and I'm just like, and I was just doing this. I'm like, if I don't know what they're saying, but they're saying it in the coolest way possible. So easy top 5 for me. And it just barely made the top 5, which just shows how loaded this album is.
Yeah, I mean, goes without saying, this is an incredible song. Got that really cool bass line. Boom, 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 boom. It's like you can hear shoot, 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 boom, 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 shoot me, boom, boom. You come on, flats up, come, do you know, slow and bum, bum. It's almost like John Lennon's rapping almost. Like this is like rap before rap became a thing. Like I don't know. It's interesting because he sings in a way like bum 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 boom 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 and down to your knees. I know like there's a part where it's like something about like children, you got Coca-Cola. It's like Ryan said, the lyrics are a little not nonsensical, but like the lyrics are a bit mishmashy, but it's like a groove. That's a really cool groove. And I'm like, I don't care what you sing, it's gonna be a great song no matter what. And then of course the very great chorus, come together right now over me.
I'm sure Scott knows exactly why the lyrics are basically gibberish.
Oh shoot! I don't know everything about the Beatles. For all I know, this is just another "I'm the Walrus" situation.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
Well, at the end of the day, it's a really fun song. I mean, it's iconic for a good reason. I think we could all agree it's a very iconic Beatles song. In my opinion, this is the only good version of the song. There's other versions, like for example, the Aerosmith version.
Yeah.
No one could ever replicate the magic of this song, especially Aerosmith. I think their version is terrible, but that's my opinion.
Yeah, I think we'll agree. This is so far. I think we're agreeing, and we'll continue to agree that this is like one of the best Beatles rock songs I think of all time. Uh, it's one of my favorite. It's in my top 10 favorite Beatles songs. When I did my Beatles list, yeah, it's in my top 10. It's one of my all-time favorite Beatles songs. And for everything that Nick said, I know people think that's about Paul McCartney dying, and they're all coming together for the funeral. That was
What?
because he talked about someone having you can feel his disease,
Can
and
feel his disease.
there's some
Oh,
stuff
man.
you can connect the dots and be like, what's going on? Someone's dying.
And the fact that he goes just at the beginning, but it sounds like "shoot me." I think that has to do something with it too.
Oh, well, they think Paul McCartney got assassinated? Is that what they're thinking?
Well, there is the theory that Paul McCartney secretly died and they replaced him with another person.
That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I can't listen apparently.
Speaking of which, I don't mean to interrupt, Jason, but if you look on the license plate of the buggy, it says 28 IF. Paul would have been 28 if he had lived.
Yeah, he would have been 28.
And also, Paul McCartney's the only Beatle on that album cover who's bare feet. So people theorize, that means he's dead. I think they were in on the joke. I think is what that was.
Yeah.
That's
clear.
Actually, Paul's feet, he had sandals on, and it was really hot out.
Yeah.
And he took the sandals off while we were doing the album cover. So it was just a weird coincidence.
Smart man.
But man, people are really good with the conspiracy theories on this album. And this is one of them. Yeah, come together. You're too hard to see. I don't know. It definitely is a kind of dark kind of imagery that I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what John is talking about here. Why he wrote the lyrics. I don't recall any special thing. There might be. It is an interest. I do love singing along to the song though. It is fun to sing those words because they're like, it's ridiculous, but it's really cool to sing to. But yeah, it's all about that bass line and the drums. They work so well together. The drums are like like on the cymbals, I think, or something like that. And it's just such a cool sound when he does that. And that bass line. And then there's this one part I love it so much when he's doing that bum ba bum 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 ba da dum. I love that sound of the bass when he does that right before he goes right into the verse, and then that drum beat, like right after that bass finishes that bum bum, and then that drum comes down. It's some of the best music I ever heard, and I can't stop, banging my head to it, and kind of not hard, but just can't. I have to move my head. It's just so good. Like that beat is so good, and John's vocals, amazing. Yeah, it's one of my favorite songs, obviously.
We open up with one of the most iconic bass lines of all time. And that's how the album opens up too, right with the boom, 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 boom. And what Ringo is doing underneath that is super cool. That little drum roll, it's like, so he's like, with the bass, and then he's doing a little flourish on the cymbal, and then he rolls down all the toms. It's like, how does he keep up with that? Like he does it in such perfect timing too. But like doing all those drum rolls, like that's not easy. I'm not a drummer, but I at least know like how the drums work, and that's not easy to do those rolls. You get the when the vocals come in. Yes, the lyrics to this song are absolute nonsense, but I love it for that. And he even says something about a walrus gumboot, whatever that means. But I don't know. I thought another funny reference to "I'm the Walrus." There's some weird lines. It's like he's got to be good looking because he's so hard to see. He holds you in his armchair. You can feel his disease. Just stuff like that. It's just like these lyrics are absolutely ridiculous, but they're amazing at the same time. And then there's just like some random references, and like he talks about Coca-Cola in there, and it's like, where did that come from? And the chorus. I love how right before the chorus you get Ringo has this little drum thing that's like don't, 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 And then you get the chorus, come together right now over me. And then whenever you get to the chorus, the guitar comes in more strong. And then there's this organ solo in the middle. It's super cool. It's just he just goes right, and the organ's and then George has this cool little harmonized thing where he's doing these bends. It's like and then right when he hits the high one, boom, then the bass line comes in again, boom, 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 and then he does a fill. I think Jason was talking about the bass fill there.
Yeah.
It's like boom, 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 boom. It's like ooh, because the fact that he plays that way up high on the neck is like usually the bass you're playing way down here, but he's doing the main riff and that little fill are all way up high on the neck, and it's like playing the bass in a register that's a lot higher than they usually play it. It sounds really cool. John Entwistle from The Who does that a lot too, especially on like The Real Me. Yeah, this is such a cool song. I love the outro too. That the end you get Ringo is still keeping the groove with the cymbals, but he's throwing a little more cymbals in there, and then they just keep singing "Come Together," yeah. Come together, and underneath that you got those guitar bends again, and they start out kind of like lower, and they just keep getting higher and higher and higher until you get that come together, and then at the very end, I don't know what happens, but like John just goes,
Yeah.
at the end. And I hate the 2019 Giles Martin remix of this song because they take that part out where he goes, I'm so used to hearing it, and they take that part out and instead put him going, all right, somewhere else in the song. I'm like, this just feels off. I'm not used to that. Spoiler alert, I've listened to the record of this song, not the Giles Martin remix. There's other Giles Martin remixes I like the Revolver one, but we're not here to talk about mixed differences. But yeah, Come Together, fantastic song. One of the best ones on the album.
All right, so this was one of the songs that got me into the Beatles. This and another song we'll get to. This song rocks. This is one of the best hardcore rock songs the Beatles have ever done. The bass intro, epic. Probably the best drumming Ringo's ever done on a song, particularly at the beginning where it's like, man, he is having the time of his life on this song. Yes, the lyrics make absolutely no sense, but I think that's the point. I think it's just supposed to be this fun, grooving rock song that's insanely catchy and has some great guitar and bass and Ringo drumming and really awesome John Lennon vocals. Yeah, this is a great jam session. It's a great sing-along song. And one of my favorite Beatles songs, period. And I've heard this song covered a couple of times. Aerosmith, Michael Jackson, but not even Michael Jackson can come close to matching the original. This is a fantastic Beatles song. All right, so now we go from one of the more rocking songs to one of the ballads on the album with something. Oh, wait, first it. Something in the way she moves.
Also, don't listen to the version by Junkie XL, what he did for the Justice League. Don't listen to that.
That's a thing.
That is
bad.
a thing.
No.
It's bad, Scott. Don't listen.
No. Somebody tried to show me Billie Eilish covering this song. I hated that.
No, thank you.
Probably best not to listen to that either. But
That's about how Billie Eilish would have done it.
I guess there is an unwritten rule: you cannot cover this song. You must be George Harrison if you perform this song.
I actually do like the Aerosmith version. So
The Aerosmith did something?
no, Come Together.
Oh, I thought we were talking about something now.
I thought it was all Come Together. No, Junkie XL covered Come Together for the Justice League movie.
Oh, okay.
The Justice
I was
League.
talking about something.
No,
I
it's not
couldn't I couldn't find an opening to talk about that, so I figured, like, before I talk about something, I'm just gonna try and see if I can squeeze
okay.
that in there.
Well, and now for something completely different.
Yeah, and now for something completely different. But yeah, I love this song very much. It didn't make my 5, but that just it's not a knock against the song. It's still it's like I don't know, it's weirdly haunting. I don't know if that's the way to put it, but it's like something in the way she moves. I'm just like it's kind of creepy if you really think about it. Probably best not to look too deep into it, but regardless, I love this song very much.
Speaking of covers, I think Sinatra does a good cover of this song.
Does it cover?
Oh, Frank Sinatra! Wow.
He does it on his.
I would trust Sinatra with the cover of this song, definitely over Billie Eilish.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, it's not anywhere good as the Beatles version, but he does a good job, surprisingly. Especially since he did a terrible version of Mrs. Robinson.
Didn't Sinatra say that this was his favorite Lennon and McCartney song?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Lennon McCartney song.
that was not a good look on Sinatra. On his end.
Oh no.
No. Anyways, now for the song itself. Yeah, this is an awesome song. This is a huge highlight on the album. I mean, it's such a great love song. It's one of the best love songs of all time. It's like top 10 at least, top 5, I'd say. I'd say the best love song is You Take My Breath Away by Queen, but this is like either a close second or a third spot. Like it's like second best or third best love song ever. Yeah, this is like the bass line, another great song on the bass. I mean, if Briar was with us on the review, he'd be having a field day right now. We're talking about the bass. That's definitely a good argument to why you might say Paul McCartney's your favorite bassist. This is like one of the few songs where I'm like, you know what? I'll let you have it, because if you remember, Paul McCartney didn't originally want to be a bassist. So for someone who kind of picked it up over the years, he turned into such a great bassist. Yeah, this is lyrically such a beautiful song. Something in the way she moves attracts me like no other lover. It's like the chorus, you don't have to leave me now. I'm not leave me now. You ask me if our love will grow. I don't know. I don't know. Bum, 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 bum. You stick around and it may show. I don't know. I don't know. With Paul McCartney in the harmonies, I'm like, chef's kiss right there. That's like, I want this to be my favorite song on the album, but there's another song that we'll cover later that I think manages to top it. And it's going to be a song that everyone's going to be like, what? But I'm ready to defend it, and I'm ready to fight on my own on my favorite song on this album. But this is a really great love song. I really enjoy it. And George Martin, you get MVP on the orchestra. But
if your favorite song is what I think it is, I can understand that.
Her Majesty, maybe.
No.
No,
I didn't even put it on the track listing, so we're good on that one. It's called a hidden track for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, guys, it's
not on the back of the album.
Guys, you caught me. It's Her Majesty.
He's like,
what?
So
I was waiting for the big reveal.
What's writing?
Ruined it. We've been talking about this for longer than the actual song.
Yeah. Oh man, it's funny hearing Ryan say that this isn't in his top 5 on the album. It's like, this is in my top 5 favorite Beatles song of all time. It's not even top 5 album. I'm just like, I'm kind of curious now. What's in your top 5? When we get there, I'll be like, okay, that's
Her Majesty.
I sincerely hope that it lives up to the suspense that has been built.
Yes, I am so curious, because so far, let's just say the 2 first songs are my top 5 favorite songs of the album. They're both in my top 10 favorite Beatles songs. This is in my top 5 favorite Beatles songs. I mean, this is one of the all-time greatest songs of all time. Well, I mean, for me, in my opinion, I absolutely love this song. It's my favorite George Harrison song that he ever did. It's a beautiful song. It's so beautiful lyrically, musically, and like I'd say with Nick was saying, like the bass playing is so good. Like, I mean, these first two songs, Paul's best bass playing, I think. And yeah, someone says Paul's like is overrated as a bass player. I go, no, he is a great bass player, I think. Same thing with George. If you say George is an overrated guitar player, let's say, I think this is some of his best guitar playing. That guitar. This is what really makes a song for me. Is the guitar playing is so good. It sounds so great. I love the tone of it. I just love that. I love that so much. That is some of the best. I mean, it's not fancy necessarily, but the sound is so good. Like I'm like, I love the sound. And he even does this one part where he's like, dear, 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 dear. He goes a little bit. Maybe Scott will talk about it, but he's like does that normal dear, 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 dear. And then he goes up higher, dear, dear, dear. It's like, oh my gosh, that was so cool. Like it was so good, and then he made it better. And the guitar solo, I seriously, this is definitely in the running for one of my favorite guitar solos of all time. It is so beautiful the way he does that. And he goes right back into the melody of the song. Oh, it is so good. Every time I hear the song, I just marvel at this. And I've tried playing it on my guitar. I can kind of play it, not nearly as good as George Harrison can, but it is a fun solo to like. If you play guitar, this is definitely a solo. I'd say try it out. It's so fun to play. In my opinion, yeah. I'll go back to Scott. It's an awesome song.
I'm gonna pull it when I'm 64 here. Brian, this is not only in my top 5 on the album and in my top 5 Beatles songs, this is in my top 5 songs of all time.
Ooh. Oh, wow.
Yeah, no, I'm you're totally good to have songs that you like better than this, but for me, this is one of the greats, one of the all times. And I'd never really heard it before I listened to Abbey Road. I mean, it was on the Blue album, but I would always just think, oh, Something. That doesn't sound like a very interesting song. It's just Something. Like, who wants to write a song called Something? And I remember hearing it one time only. When I listened to the entirety of the Blue album, I only listened to the whole thing once when I was a teenager.
Yeah.
And I just remember my dad singing along to it, and it's like, yeah, this is a good song. But I was like, it is overrated. Back then. Okay, I heard that. I heard the song once. I remember thinking the guitar was kind of good. But that's all I remembered about the song. Then I heard it when I listened to Abbey Road, and I thought, whoa, this is one of the most beautiful songs that I've ever heard. Like, the way that it starts out, we have, man, a lot of Ringo's best moments on this album. Ringo is just,
Yeah.
He was already a good drummer. He's grown even better as a drummer throughout the course of this the Beatles' career. And really, this album is kind of like the peak of their artistic growth. And they're gonna go on to release all these amazing solo albums not long after this. But as a group, like, this is the peak of their artistic creativity. We start out. I'm building all this up just to a drum fill, but it's that good of a. It's not like In the Air Tonight level, but it's pretty good. Do. That's it. But it's such a powerful way to open up the song. Do. Down. And it's kind of interesting chord choices because the chords there make you think it's in a different key, but then it switches up at the end and it goes to A. And he starts out, something in the way she moves attracts me like no other lover. I apologize for what I'm about to say. I am going to go all music theory nerd on this song. You guys probably aren't going to understand anything I'm saying about this, but that's why I love this song. Is that the song starts on the tonic chord, which is the main chord of a key, if you don't know what that means. And then it goes into a major 7 version of that chord, which means that they're adding the 7th scale degree, which makes it sound all jazzy, if you don't know what that means. And then it goes to the dominant 7 of the same chord, which means that they're essentially just walking down from the first note, down a half step, down another half step with the root note. I don't know if you can understand what I'm saying here, but the way that they do that makes it sound super interesting. I'm going to try to play something on the... I mean something meaning not the song title, but to play something that sounds like it. Like So they start on that, and then they add the... And then they add the... See it just walking down. And that's also kind of a similar thing that they did with Strawberry Fields. But I love how they do that. Something in the way she moves. Where's it? It might be C. Sorry, I think it's in the key of C. Something in the way she moves attracts me like no other lover. So, yeah, and then they go to a D chord. That's a secondary dominant chord. Ah, crap, I've turned into Rick Beato.
I don't know.
I wasn't expecting to get a music tutorial on my own live stream, but thank you for that.
I wasn't expecting to, but I love the music theory behind this song.
Yeah.
I turned into Rick Beato there for a moment, like that. Anyway, he's using all of these interesting chords that aren't really part of the key, and he's kind of switching the key center around, and I love that about this song. You get that walk down. I don't want to leave her now. It's doing kind of a similar chromatic thing. Down. You know I believe in how. Boom, 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 boom. And then right back to that guitar, like boom, 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 boom. Something in the smile, or whatever it is. I love this song, but I forgot the lyrics there for a second. Beautiful lyrics too. Like this is just such a great love song. Like starting out. Even as the line "something in the way she moves." Now, granted, that was kind of stolen from a James Taylor song.
Yeah.
So George pulled a Led Zeppelin there.
Yeah.
But it's a good opening line. It catches you in, and just some of the lines in this song are just amazing. Like something in her style that shows me, I don't want to leave her now. You know I believe in how. And then that guitar lyric, down, and then. The next time they do it, he goes to a different note. Down, 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 and switches the key. That's when they go to A. I was mixed up. It starts in C and they go to A, which is a really weird key change, but I love how they do it. And you get that bridge section. You're asking me, will my love grow? I don't know. Boom, 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 boom. That walking bass line that goes down. Man, and I love the lyrics there because the first time you hear it, you think, oh, will my love grow? I don't know. You're saying you're going to leave her. But no, you look closer at it. It means I don't know if I can love you any more than I can right now. Like, I love you, like, basically at the maximum level.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way I can love you any more than I do. Beautiful, George. That's fantastic. Sad you had to leave her and have Eric Clapton steal her, but well, I digress. And that's when the strings come in. That's when the strings come in, is on this bridge section. The strings come in and start. And again, on the bridge section, there's more chromatic descending stuff. Like, apparently George really liked that. Boom, 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 boom. And I love the I don't know. And then it does a different boom, 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 boom. And that goes right back. I don't know how he jumps around from C to A. That's such a weird key change, but he does that. He goes back to C, and they get the guitar solo. Okay, I'm a guitar player. I like some fancy sounding guitar solos. The technical stuff, you got your Eruptions, you got your Freebirds, your Hotel Californias, your Comfortably Numbs. Insert amazing guitar solo here. This is my favorite guitar solo of all time. And it is not because of the technicality. It's because of the feeling that George Harrison puts into it. I bet you any guitar player could learn this song in 10 minutes. But it's going to take you a lifetime to play this song with as much emotion as George Harrison does. The way that he just, I don't know, the first line, just the first line, it just goes, da-na-na-na, da-da-da-da-na. But I don't know how he does it, but just the way that he does it just gets you right as soon as he plays it. And then it's like, and I love the part he does like, that's like kind of almost like a bebop-y kind of thing. Very, again, chromatic.
Yeah.
George Harrison likes his chromaticism in this song. And then you got the bends. And I'm not talking about Radiohead. But the bends, it goes from bow, wow, 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 bow, wow, 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 bow, wow, wow, bow, 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 and then back into the lick. Down, down, bow, bow, bow. And then I think you got Paul and John coming in on some harmonies there on the last verse. And then at the very end, you got kind of like a double chorus where they say it again. They go, yeah, I don't want to leave her now. You know I believe in how. Don't, boom, boom, boom. And then it goes to that different note, but then it just goes, don't, and then right back to the original key. Boom, 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 orchestra. Boom. Masterpiece. Nick already talked about Paul McCartney's bass line, but I think the bass line is almost like a different song in and of itself. If you've not heard Paul's isolated bass line, go listen to it. It could very well be the melody of a completely different song. Complements it perfectly, and apparently McCartney was asked to tone it down, and this is the toned down version. I have no idea what the fancy sounding version would have sounded like, but props to McCartney for making an incredible bass line when they asked him to tone it down. So I think you can tell that I like this song. I'm gonna pass it over to Mr. Jacob now, but I like this song. Long story short.
Well,
It's hard to tell, but the signs are there.
It's hard to tell.
I don't think I'm going to be able to give an in-depth music lesson on it like you did, but I will say that I really love this song. This is in my top 3 on this album. I don't know what Ryan. I don't get where Ryan's coming from. That he said this was a creepy sounding song. That's the first time I've ever heard that. Every Breath You Take by the Police. Yes, I can see why that's creepy. But no. This is a beautifully written song. George Harrison, you could just tell he was feeling something when he wrote this song. I think a really good place of belonging when writing this, and you can just feel that from the way the song is played, from the production stuff, the production choices, as Scott so eloquently discussed the past few minutes. The vocals from George Harrison, the songwriting. Yeah, this is just a very well-crafted song all around. I will say a misquote in this song almost kind of sort of ruins the song for me if I think about the misquote, because the misquote I've heard is something in the way she moves. I've heard that one misquoted before. I'm like, oh no. But even with that, like if I just think of this song, listen to the amazing craft of it, I'm like, okay, I can overlook the misheard lyric and just enjoy it for what it is. This is a beautiful song. Easily one of their best.
That's not as bad as Every Breath You Take, the misquoted lyric.
Oh yeah,
I can't unhear that one because Sting sings with good diction, and
yeah,
so when he says pour, he sings it like poo.
Poo, yeah. But a part of me still hears something in the way she moves. I cannot take the song seriously. I don't know how that's attractive there, George. I think moves is a better word.
Holy cow.
Oh, I'm gonna love you till the cows come home, which is an actual line in a Beatles song. I forgot the name of that song. It's on Hard Day's Night. I know that.
What is it? When I Get Home?
Yeah.
But there was a line into that album. I love you till the cows come home. All right. Enough of something. Let's move on to what might be the most divisive song on the album, because I know some Beatles even hated this song. But I'm looking at John especially. Maxwell's Silver Hammer.
So it's not in my 5, but I still loved this song. This was fun, like just the synthesizers, the hammering in the background. This is just, it tells you how stacked this album is, because I went back and I listened to it again, and I still loved it even then. Like I said, it's not in my 5, but if I expanded it to a 10, it would be in there. This is, like, I guess outside of one other song, there's like, this is the most fun, like with one exception, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, honestly, I'm not a big fan of this song personally. I don't know why, just never a song that I been that invested in. It's another one of Paul's weaker songs, in my opinion. It's funny because, we have John's first song being Come Together and George's first song being something, and it's like you get Paul's first song and it's this, and it's like not a really good first song on the album, in my opinion. Wait till we get to the next one. You'll hear me praise Paul a lot. But yeah, this has never been one of my favorites on the album.
Yeah, Paul was really fighting for this song to be the big single coming off this album. He really wanted he thought Maxwell's Silver Hammer was like the next big song. And boy, was he wrong. I'm glad they didn't put it out as a single or whatever. And I'm trying to think, was that the A-side of one single? It's the only time
Come Together was the A-side, and something was released with that. I think it was a double A-side.
Yes, because I think it's the only time George Harrison had like an A-side song. I think the best that's the best single of all time. Come Together and Something on the same. Oh my gosh, it's hard to beat that one. But anyways,
maybe like Wouldn't It Be Nice and God Only Knows is the only other one I can think of that's like close to that.
Yeah, that's incredible. But anyways, so yeah, in other words, yeah, I find it funny that Paul was really fighting for this song. It's like no, Paul, this is not the big single coming off this album. And I don't hate it as much as other Beatles fans. I think most Beatles fans, I feel like, even would say like this is maybe the worst song on the album. I don't even think that. I don't think it's a great song. It's a weird song. It's a very kind of jolly song about killing people with a silver hammer. It's a very weird tonally. I think it's kind of catchy though. The Maxwell Silver Hammer came down upon his head. Do 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 do. Like it's kind of catchy. I'm like, it's like, of course, it's kind of cool. But yeah, it's definitely not a song that I have high up on this album. I have to admit, it's not great, but it's not terrible.
Am I the only one that absolutely loves this song?
You do?
I mean, it's still near the bottom if I was to rank all the songs, but still, like, there's not really any misses for me on this album. I don't know why, but I get just so much joy hearing Paul McCartney sing this jaunty little tune about a serial killer. I don't know why. It shouldn't work as well as it does. I will say the one gripe I have about this song is that it's a complete 180 from something. Right as soon as you get that amazing orchestra hole at the end, you get Joan was quizzical, studied pataphysical science in her home. It's just like, what? And underneath that, you got like this weird bass line. It's like boom, 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 boom. It's just like, what? It's almost like a kid's song, like a dumpty dumpty dum. Like you would think it would, like, if this had different lyrics, I could see Barney singing this.
Oh no!
Like musically, and then you get to the chorus. It's like, but something creeps up from behind. But dum. Yeah, with the bass, bang bang. Maxwell's silver hammer came down upon her head, and then there's an actual hammer hitting an anvil in here.
Yep.
You can famously see Mal Evans doing the anvil in the Let It Be movie. I don't know who played the anvil on the album here, but like someone's actually hitting an anvil with a hammer.
I read Ringo did that on the album.
Okay. Yeah, Ringo is the percussionist, so that would make sense.
That makes sense.
You got to hit it right on rhythm. But the fact that you hear the hammer, and it's like ting ting, really loud, and that comes right after dum dum dum, bang 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 bang. Maxwell's silver hammer came down upon her head, and then you got these stupid background vocals that go biddy biddy doo. I can't take this song seriously. I think that's why I like it, is I can't take it seriously. You know who else couldn't take this song seriously? John Lennon. John Lennon. Here's the funniest part about this song, is that John Lennon was in a car crash and had to go to the hospital for a few days. So while he was there, the other three were working on the recording the tracks, the backing tracks, the instrumentals of this song. And Paul apparently made them do hundreds of takes of this song. And John gets there, and the other two, Ringo and George, tell him there's this song that Paul's been working on, and he's been making us do takes of it day in and day out. And he comes in, and Paul's like, "All right, it's time to work on the song again." I bet you, John was like, "This is the song that you've been drilling these people in." So John was going to get his revenge on Paul McCartney, and he said, "I'm not playing on this song."
Oh,
and so he said, "You know what I will do? I'll stand in the vocal booth and I'll watch." So he stood in the vocal booth while they were recording, or the control room, and Paul McCartney was doing his vocal takes right about this time, and he's singing the second verse about how he has to write 50 times that he messed up or whatever, that I won't act up in class 50 times. And right when he's singing that part, John Lennon in the vocal booth is making stupid faces at him to try to get him to break, and he won't do it. You can hear him, and he won't break. But then, right before he says the words "writing" 50 times, you can hear McCartney audibly break and laugh. He goes, "Writing 50 times" in the actual vocals. You want to know what happened there? John Lennon turned around and pulled his pants down, showed his butt. That's what the true story. That's why you hear him laugh, is because John Lennon showed him his butt from the control. He was trying to get Paul to break. So not only is this song stupidly hilarious, but you also got John trying to make Paul laugh down in the control room.
I would love to be a fly on the wall in Apple Studios. Not only for that whole thing, but just to be like, Paul be like, "Okay, fellas. I have our next single. It's going to be genius. It's called Maxwell's Silver Hammer." "Oh, really? What's it about?" "It's about a serial killer." Right.
The other thing I will say before we move on, because I don't want to talk as long as I did about something about every song on this album, but I love how this song uses a new device, this huge computer console with a keyboard attached to it known as the Moog modular synthesizer that took up half a room. This would evolve into synthesizers that were huge in the 70s and the 80s, but here in the 60s, this thing was massive and took a tech to set up to make the sounds. Like, this was cutting-edge technology at the time, and the Beatles didn't really know how to use it, so they just had somebody set it up and they would just play stuff on it. But I like how they use the synthesizer in this song. It really adds to it, especially whenever they say, "A noise creeps up from behind," and you get the synthesizer sound there.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm sure this is the genius's favorite song.
It's a ridiculous song, and I love how it ends with "dang dang," but I still love it, even though it's kind of stupid.
All right. Yeah, I've always been a fan of this song. Believe it or not, the first time I heard this song was on a radio station. It was on Sirius XM. I think they played on 60s on 6.
Okay.
So I thought this was a hit song, and then I found out it wasn't, which is crazy. But yeah, ever since I first heard the song, I'm like, yeah, I actually strangely really dig this song, even though story-wise it's about a serial killer. But man, it's like it's done in such a goofy way, and I kind of dig the song for that, because I think deep down I cannot take this song seriously, especially with that bang, bang sound effect, which is so over the top, but I love it. I have another story about this song, John Lennon's hatred for it. I saw the Get Back documentary, the one Peter Jackson directed, and it actually has all, like, every footage of the Get Back, Let It Be recording sessions. And they actually had some songs prepared that would later be used on Abbey Road. And Maxwell Silverhammer was on there. And John Lennon, even then, before they actually recorded the song, did not care for this one. And there's actually a part in the docuseries where John Lennon is actually singing this song, and all he's doing is trolling Paul. Like, he's like, bang, 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 and he's like going, he's like intentionally singing bad because he hates the song. That's what the.
I heard a studio outtake from when apparently Paul McCartney was in the bathroom and they were playing it, and John Lennon stepped up to the mic and he goes, "Bang, bang, Maxwell Silverhammer came down upon Paul's head."
Oh, but yeah, he really does not like this song, and considering that's the stuff that ticks John's buttons, I wonder what he's gonna do in his solo career.
Especially with his wife's music.
Oh,
I wonder.
but yeah, this is I think it's a good song. It's not in my top 5, but I still think it's a fun song. Oh, now we go from one Paul McCartney song to another. Oh, darling.
Yeah, I love this song so much, and I just, is it crazy, or does like the main beat kind of sound, and it could just be me, and if it's just me, then fine, whatever. It kind of sounds eerily familiar to Please Come Home for Christmas by the Eagles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see that.
Like, and I'm not saying like they're the same. I'm just saying that they're eerily very similar. Like, all I was waiting on was, so won't you tell me you'll never more wrong, or something like that. But I really like this song. Paul's voice is just awesome here. Like, and like, it's awesome always, but especially here. Like, he's just all over the place, and he crushes it here. He really does.
Yeah, big improvement from the last song. Paul wise. This is an amazing song. Oh, darling, please believe me. I won't do you no harm. Believe me when I tell you. It's like, and then my favorite parts is when you start screaming, when I told you, you never leave me anymore. Well, I know I nearly fall down and died. Oh, Chef's Kiss again. This is a huge highlight for me. I really like this one.
All right, you want to hear a hot take?
Oh no.
This is my least favorite song on the album.
This one.
This is one of my favorite Beatles
This
songs.
song is your least favorite on the album.
I do not like this song. It's one of my least.
What?
I cannot wait to hear this one.
I think it's a boring song. It's like a 50s throwback that doesn't work. And I do not like Paul's vocals. It's like he's too hard when he belts it out. And I think he's terrible singing. And yeah. And I've talked to people who say this is their favorite song on the album. And I'm like, it's not.
I wouldn't go quite that far to say favorite song on the album, but okay.
Wow. Now I know how Jason felt when Breyer said Helplessly Hoping wasn't very good.
Now you know how I felt when Ryan not only said For Known was one of the weakest songs on Revolver, but She's Leaving Home was one of the weakest songs on Sgt. Pepper's. Now you know how I feel.
Let's not dig up those skeletons from the closet.
I recognize I'm in the minority on this song, so I'm fine if everybody loves the song. That's just my take on it. I just never cared for it. And like I said, because I talked to a guy named Sam St. John who has a YouTube channel, Sam Americana, and he said this is his favorite song on the album, and I said this is my least favorite song. So totally different than other people.
Oh wow.
This doesn't work for me, so that's my
Wow. Wow, 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 wow. Owen Wilson, wow. Crazy, because I love this song. Straight from the opening, and I'm going to play it. I'm going to play the chord.
And a music lesson. All right.
No, I'm not. I'm not going to music theory it. I'm just going to play the chord this time. What is it? Oh, wait, 1 second. Yeah, that's it. Gotta find my key there.
Yeah,
That's an okay. Yeah, I said no music theory, but I'm glad. That's an augmented chord. You take the fifth of the chord and you take it up a half step so that it sounds all creepy and cool. Yeah, doesn't that sound a lot cooler than move that to a, and now you got an augmented chord, and that takes you right back to. Yeah, I love the throwback feel of this album. I hope that actually went through and didn't just cut out because my mic can be a little finicky sometimes.
Scott, can you play "Take on Me"?
Oh no!
Why?
Oh dear!
He really is.
Turn this into a. We can have a keyboard video some other time. This is the only one I'm doing this. I'll have a keyboard video where I take suggestions later.
I felt like they go me.
Talking away. I don't know. I'm just
If we lost any viewers, we probably lost it now. Okay, enough of that.
All right, well, that was excellent.
I love the throwback nature of this song. I love how it's just kind of like a bum 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 bum, and there's some more great bass from Paul McCartney. Boom, boom, do 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 do. He's kind of going all over the place, and I love that about that. And he's kind of holding back vocally at the beginning, so that he can build up to the chorus. I love the little dun 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 dun, and the piano goes like and then he belts it out. And I always strain my voice when I try to do this, but if I strain my voice, I strain my voice. When you told me, crap, you didn't need me. I want you to know I nearly fell down and cried. When you told me you didn't need me anymore, well, you know, I nearly fell down and I when he does it. That was my awful Paul McCartney impression. Sorry about that. That was bad at the beginning. But I'm sorry, I'm having way too much fun with this review.
Yeah.
I love that. I love how we both set out. It's so fun. It's so fun. And I don't know. It's just like great song after great song after great song. This is just continuing that streak of just fantastic songs.
Yeah, I think I've never been shocked by somebody's response to that song when Jason saying he really didn't like this song. Like, boring? I don't know what to say on that. This is an excellent song. This is in my top 5. I love the throwback 50s feel of the song. I love the piano work on it, and most importantly, Paul's vocals on this song. Uh, this is some of his best vocals. I think the way he belts the chorus of this song, it's like, oh, I guess this is the precursor to that amazing chorus on "Maybe I'm Amazed." So,
It kind of does.
yeah. Which, yeah, a little ahead of myself there. I love that song. The album, not so
And then for
much,
the McCartney review.
but this song is excellent. I think it was weird. At one point, I thought Maxwell's Silver Hammer was the better Paul McCartney Beatles song, but now I'm the opposite. I think this song is even better. I think vocally, especially, it's an amazing ballad rock song. All right, Ringo is on the album, and his song is next with Octopus's Garden.
So this was easy top 5 for me. This is the one that I listen to like an unhealthy amount of times. That I like to be under the sea in an octopus's garden in the shade. It's just, I can't accurately describe how good this song makes me feel. But I shared this comment with the group I found on the YouTube video of this, and I'll just read it off really quick. John writes about war. Paul writes about love. George writes about religion. Ringo writes about octopuses. But yeah, this song, easy top 5 for me. I love this song with all of my heart.
Remember I said there was a song I thought was better than Something by Hair?
Yeah.
This is the song I was mentioning.
Okay.
Oh,
Before everyone gets mad and all that, you're talking to the same guy who said Obladi was and Obladi Oblada was my favorite on the White Album. So
Right.
You know
So-
something, Nick? This
What?
is the one I thought that you were going to pick. And you know what? I get that because you like Ringo.
it's such a fun song, and yeah, this is by far the best Ringo song he's ever done. I get everyone's argument with the love for my friends and Don't Pass Me By, but to me this is cream of the crop. And yeah, it's such a I like to bum 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 dun dun dun. I like to be under the sea in an octopus's garden in the shade. And then the guitar solo. I can't replicate it right now, but you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. But such a classic Ringo song, and yeah, this is a gigantic highlight for me personally.
Cool. This is my favorite Ringo song. It's so cool that he wrote it. It's one of only 2 songs that he wrote with the Beatles, kind of that he got to sing, and I think it's his best work. And like, yeah, you could. I say it's hard because I really like Hello Help from My Friends. I really like Yellow Submarine. I don't know. I like this just a little bit more than those songs even. And so I agree with Nick. This is his best song, I think. And this is actually one of my favorite songs on the album. I think this was a really good song. I don't know if Scott will get into the backing. There's not much backing, why he wrote the song. It's pretty simple, but like you said, that's how Ringo thinks. He's like, I talking to some guy and he told me that octopuses make a garden, and then he's like, I'm gonna write a song, and it works. And yeah, it's like, how does that song work? And it does. It's a fun song. I love you have the main verse part. I don't know what to call it, which is pretty good. And then my favorite part is like right before the chorus and Nick was doing that. And they and dance around, bam, 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 something, but they can't be found. Like, that's my favorite part of the song. That's such a cool, like, middle part between the verse and into the chorus. It kind of transitions from verse to chorus. Love it. It's so cool sounding. And Ringo sounds actually really good. Like, I bag Ringo because he sounded terrible when he sang like Boys and Honey Don't. But he sings good on the song. It's like, I like his voice. And guitar playing is kind of almost like a country western sound or something. It's not a usual. I don't feel like it's a usual guitar solo that you hear from the Beatles. And it's different, but cool. Like it works for the song and adds to the song. How I think a good song. Yeah, I'm with Nick. It's one of the best songs on the album for me as well.
I love this song. I do think that A Little Help from My Friends is probably my favorite Ringo vocally led song, but this is an extremely close second, especially knowing that he wrote this. I know this isn't true, but I like to think that, and it's a joke that I made up, that Ringo has written this song since the very beginning and they just won't let him record it. That it's like, hey guys, I wrote a song about an octopus. Shut up, Ringo. On the Please Please Me sessions you get with the Beatles. Hey guys, can we do my song about the octopus? No. Shut up and sing I Want to Be Your Man. And we get to Hard Day's Night. Hey guys, I wrote a song about an octopus. Can we put it on this one? No, this album is all Lennon and McCartney songs. George doesn't even get a song on this one. Oh, and then, like, you just go through all of them, and it's just like, hey guys, the Beatles are about to break up. Can we finally record me a song about the octopus?
This song.
Okay, I guess we can do that. And they finally let him record. I don't know. That's not true, but I like to think that it's a joke that they just won't let him record his octopus song because they think it's dumb. But it's not dumb. It's a good song. I love the guitar lick at the beginning. And then Ringo's vocals are really good on this song. I like the melody too. I'd like to be under the sea in an octopus's garden in the shade. And then I do love that little pre-chorus thing. We can sing and dance around. There's piano. Because we know we can't be found. And then the drums. Bow down down. I'd like to be under the sea in an octopus's garden in the shade. And then when you get to the guitar solo, which, by the way, really cool guitar solo. I like it, but I like what's going on underneath that. You have John Lennon gurgling water and blowing bubbles, which I think is funny just imagining him doing that. But I could just imagine him drinking water and just going. Sounded like this seagull from Little Mermaid there for a second.
Oh.
But then they have like bubble blowing sound like underneath that as well, and it's just like that adds to the underwater atmosphere of the song really well. But at the same time, I can just imagine them doing that stuff in the studio and being like, "This is stupid." But yeah, this is a really great song. It's one of my favorite Ringo songs. It's so good.
Yeah, I'll never forget the first time I heard this song. I was like, "Octopus's Garden? This sounds like the dumbest Beatles song." And then when I first heard it, I'm like, "This song rocks! This is a great Beatles song." This is one of the songs that got me more into Ringo Starr because if you watched our review of either Yellow Submarine or Revolver, I used to thought Yellow Submarine was an annoying song for the longest time, and I thought Ringo was a horrible singer. But I think this was one of the songs that made me go, you know what? Ringo's not that bad. I really like this guy. And then, spoiler alert, I've been going into some of Ringo's solo albums, and I love his jazz album and his country album. So, more than some of the best Beatles albums, controversially. So, yeah, this is a great song. It's kind of cool that Ringo wrote this pleasant song. I think it was intended for children about an octopus chilling underwater. And yet it's one of the catchiest songs on the album. And it happened to be in my top 5. Like, even as goofy as this song is, they still cared about the craft of it. And that's what I respect about this song. All right, now we get to the last song on side 1. Probably one of the strangest titles on the album. I Want You. She's so heavy.
So this is in my top 5. I loved this song. It feels like two songs kind of crashed into one, but they both strangely somehow work. Like the I want you, and I did that terribly, but it's late, so I'm sorry. But that part is great, and then the when it slows down, like when it speeds up and it slows down, that's why I love this song so much.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I thought I have a very complicated relationship with the song because there's a lot of parts I like about the song. I like the simplistic nature of it with the I want you so bad. You know, I like the simplicity. That's just my opinion. I like the part where you got the organ from Billy Preston. I love that so much. With the heavy, she's so heavy, heavy, heavy. Dun-dun-dun. My only complaint about this track, it's too long. It's way too long. It's 7 minutes. It didn't have to be 7 minutes long. There gets to a certain part of it where I'm just like, can this end already, please? Like, I want to get to the next song. Where I want to get to side 2 already. I do like how it abruptly ends because technically this was the last time. This was the last Beatle recording, so kind of ominous that it just kind of abruptly ends. That's kind of a highlight at the end section, but yeah, it's just the same thing. Bum, 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 bum. Like, I like how there's like the synthesizer that kind of creeps in more and more, but I do feel like they kind of draw it out for a little too long, in my opinion. I'm sure Scott will be like, "That's blasphemous." I love this song regardless, but it's not one of my favorites because of how long it is.
I agree 100% with Nick on this. There's like hardly any lyrics on this song. Like there's hardly any singing. It feels like it's really all about the guitar playing and the vibe of the song. And I think if you like that, you're gonna love the song. And I think musically, it's one of their best songs musically. I think, and some of the best guitar playing is just really cool. It's very different from anything you hear from the Beatles, to be honest. The style of the song. And I believe John Lennon's really playing kind of the lead here, and it's John's best guitar playing I think probably he's ever done. And because you don't think of John Lennon as being like the lead guitar player, of course, because George does the lead and John's the rhythm guitar player. But this really proves John Lennon is a great guitar player, I think. And if you look on like guitar's greatest players, he's on that list for a good reason, I guess. He is considered a great guitar player. And yeah, like you said, Ryan, it's like 2 songs. It's like the main part is the I want you so. That's like the main part, and that's like the only lyrics of the song is that. And boom, ba-dum, boom, it's like, yeah, musically it's awesome, like all around. Like I mean, the bass, the drumming, everything is really cool. And then I do love the yeah, she's so heavy. Like that part is really cool, and the guitar playing. And then there's this whole middle part, or towards the end maybe. It's just almost all instrumental. It's like there's no singing. It's just the playing. It's well done, but it is way too long. Way too long. It drags so much. This song should be cut down like 3 minutes out of it. Like if it was me, I'd cut like 3 minutes out of the song. It'd be a great song. But because it goes on way too long, I'm not a big fan of the song as far as like, because it's just so long. I just can't go back to the song. Only if I hear this album will I hear the song, but I would never put it on the playlist or really go back to the song, unfortunately. And I want to like the song because there's so much good stuff on the song. It's like I want to like it, but I can't because they dragged it out too long, unfortunately. So it's an unfortunate part. But yeah, I'll leave it at that.
This is one of the heaviest songs that the Beatles did. I mean, we've already had heavy stuff like Revolution and Helter Skelter, but this is like borderline metal sounding. I love that guitar riff at the beginning. They have 2 guitars. One of them is just arpeggiating the chords, and the other one's doing like a riff that I like how it starts with that and then the riff It's a cool riff, but be prepared to hear that a lot in this song. I'm kind of with you guys. It goes on a little too long. But I like the riff. It's really cool. I like how the two guitars play with each other on the song, the arpeggiations with the riff, and then it goes down, 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 and then it switches up. I want you, dun dun dun. I want you so bad, dun 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 dun. Not bad for a song where the only lyrics are "I want you so bad, it's driving me mad. She's so heavy."
Yeah,
those are the only lyrics on the whole song. Oh wait, and yeah. Those are the what is it? I want you so bad, it's driving me mad. She's so heavy. Yeah, there are 13 words in this song.
Wow.
There is a grand total of 13 words in this song, which is shorter than some song titles, actually.
Yeah.
But it's interesting what they do with it. I like the part where John Lennon gets a guitar solo. Usually, like, he's doing the rhythm and George gets the solo, but this one and Get Back are the two I can think of where John gets to play the guitar solo. I feel like Paul even gets to play more guitar solos than John does. So he gets to play on this one, and it's pretty cool. I mean, it's pretty much just following the melody of the song, but it works so well. And I like how right before he does his solo, you can hear that he's switching his guitar to a different pickup to get a different sound. Like you can hear the sound like change right before because he's switching his guitar pickups. I think from the bridge one to the middle position is where I think it's going to, based on my experiences playing guitar. But there are probably Beatles historians who could tell you, no, they were switching to this pickup. I'm getting a little too in depth there. Moving on. I like the outro with the synthesizer. I think it's cool because when you turn a synthesizer on back in the day and you didn't program it and you just hit a key, it would just make this white noise that sounds like you have to like program it to get the wave to the right wavelength to make notes and like get the sounds. So they thought, oh, like we don't know what we're doing. We're making a noisy song. Let's just play that noise in the background and we'll add more and more of it as the song progresses and it'll get more and more chaotic. And what's interesting is at the end of this song, after hearing that down, 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 over and over and over and over again, so that it just cuts out with no warning. You want to know why? It's because they ran out of tape.
Yeah.
They didn't know how to end the song, so they're like, we'll just keep going. That's why the song's so long. They decided they were just going to keep going, and they kept playing until they ran out of tape. And that's why it just abruptly ends. The first time I ever heard this song, I told you I listened on a friend's record player. Because it's the last song on the first side, I thought that the song had skipped, that the record had skipped the end of the song. The needle had jumped and skipped the end of the song. So I went and I put the needle back a few seconds. Like, oh, I missed the end of the song. The record skipped. I played it again, and I'm like, wait, is that how the song ends? And that's the end of the first side. So like that's how the first side ends. You have to flip the record over and just sit in silence for a few minutes. Like, what have I just listened to? What's really funny is that a rough running order of this album, when they were first deciding how to sequence the album, is they were going to have side B be side A and side A be side B. So this was almost how the Beatles' final album ended.
Oh, wow.
Which would have been
interesting.
A choice, but leave it to John Lennon to make an album where the end is not the last song. Thankfully, they went the other way around, but that would have been interesting to say the least.
I mean, why would you not end your Beatles album with the end? That would be weird.
Yeah.
Ending.
But yeah, I've always loved this song. This is a great rocking song. More of a jam session than it is an actual song, and I kind of love it for that. The guitar work is really awesome. There's some good keyboards on it. When John Lennon actually is singing, it's really cool, even though he's saying the same thing over and over again. I actually did a count. Scott said 13 words. So that's 2 songs more than the entirety of "I Don't Want to Be a Soldier, Mama, I Don't Want to Die." Which is 11 words. So that's an upgrade.
I be my monkey. Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody. Oh, yeah. Everybody. Oh, the less said about that song, the better. But this song's great. I love the guitar riff, and even though it goes on a while, I still love the jam session. The synthesizer part at the end is pretty cool. Didn't quite make my top 5, but it's still a really strong honorable mention on the album. And I have a funny story about the ending of the song too. I didn't have it on record; I had it on CD. And the first time I heard it, the song cut off. I'm like, "Did something happen to the song?" And then when it cut to the next song, I'm like, "Okay, I guess that's the end of the song." But the main difference between the record and CD is like as soon as this song cuts off and immediately cuts to the next song. So here's how it is on the CD. Down, 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 down. Quite the total shift there. But that's our next song, the beginning of side B. Here Comes the Sun.
I've listened to Here Comes the Sun about 200,000 times in my life.
Yeah.
And I'm not ashamed of that whatsoever because it is legitimately one of the most beautiful songs that I have ever heard. Like how it starts off kind of tranquil and smooth, and then how it gets to the middle of dun 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 dun, and they all harmonize with the shine, 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 here we come, and that whole middle section. Yeah, this is top 5 before I even started making my top 5. I love this song with my whole heart.
Yeah, this is a huge highlight, of course. Yeah, so both I gotta say both George Harrison contributions are in my top 5 for sure. I mean, it's like such an awesome song. At first I hated this song. Not the Beatles version though, because when I watched the B movie, there was a version of Here Comes the Sun, and I'm like, this song is so annoying. Then I heard the Beatles version, and my mind was immediately changed. I'm like, how can I hate this song? This song is awesome. And I'm like, oh yeah, the B movie. But anyways, this is a huge highlight, of course. Like I said, both George Harrison songs are in my top 5.
Yeah, this is my second favorite George Harrison song, and it's crazy. His 2 best songs are on the same album for me, which is insane how good George Harrison is here on the album, just with those 2 songs. And I was just thinking, like, he was so good when he was doing like Help and Revolver. He had 3 great songs on that album. Rubber Soul, he had a couple of really good songs on that album. And then I feel like he didn't have a good song on Sgt. Pepper's. He kind of fell off a little bit. Not great on Magical Mystery Tour either. White Album, he has a couple of really good songs, I think, on that album. I don't know. He had kind of this period where he wasn't putting out good music, I felt like. And then this song, or this album, you had to hear this album, and it's like, holy cow. Where were these, George? Like, where are you hiding these songs? Like, I know this is, I don't know if Scott will get into this, but I know this was written when he was at Eric Clapton's house, because I think he skipped a meeting because he was tired of going to all these meetings they had to go to. And I think he skipped the meeting, and he was at Eric Clapton's house, and it was a sunny day. And he was like, man, this is great. Just sitting out here in the sun with my best friend, or one of my best friends. And, yeah, and that's where he just kind of was like, he was in a good mood, I think, and he wrote the song. And
oh, that's great, George. Tell me more about your wife.
about your wife, yeah. And I always think, like, if I made a playlist of like songs that make me smile, this is like number 1 on my playlist. And Penny Lane's probably number 2 on my playlist, but number 1 is probably this song. I cannot smile when I hear this song. It's just something about it. It's just so uplifting, so cheery. I don't know. It just makes you feel good. It's like one of the songs that just, oh man, just the sound of it makes you feel good. And that's what I love about the song. And the guitar playing, to me, is some of the best guitar playing. Again, I said that was something, but this song too, I love the guitar playing on here, the acoustic guitar at the beginning. And I've tried playing this song on guitar, and I can't figure it out. It's like too difficult for my skill level. I don't know how George does it, because I have the book with the chords and I look at the the tablature or whatever, and I'm trying to play it and I'm like, I don't know how I just don't get it. Like my brain just can't comprehend it. But that, yeah, it, like I said, when you're listening on CD or on Spotify, yeah, it ends with the abrupt ending of "I Want You, She's So Heavy," and then it goes dun 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 da 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 da. Oh my gosh, that is so cool. That is such a cool transition from such a song that is heavy to such a I just love it. Like I love that transition when you end that song and begin the next song. You're like, holy cow, that's such an awesome beginning to "Here Comes the Sun." Yeah, and then it goes, yeah, and da 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 da. That part is so hard, at least for me, trying to play that on guitar. So much kudos to George. That da 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 da. That whole part of the song. Oh my gosh, love it. And again, lyrically, it's just very uplifting. Like the sun is coming up, things will get better. I guess that's my feeling when I hear the song. It's like I'm like encouraged. I'm like, yeah, the sun is up. And I said this before. Songs about sun are so good. I love songs about sun. I forget what I was talking about. Another song somewhere.
Good Day Sunshine.
Yeah, Good Day Sunshine. Sun, I was just, Sunshine on My Shoulders. I love that song. My favorite John Denver song. It's something about sun. So I don't know. Sun is awesome. When you're out in the sun and it's warm and it warms your body. I don't know. It's just something really, like, it's winter right now and I hate going outside and feeling cold and you just feel depressed. And then when spring comes and the sun comes out, it's like you get out of that depression of the winter. You're like, this is nice. I don't know. I'm ranting about sun, but it goes into, I love this song. It's in my top 10 favorite Beatles songs of all time. It's so good.
Can we all just agree that George Harrison has gone through a journey as a songwriter?
Mhm.
Because I remember when we were talking about with the Beatles or whichever one that is, and we all hated "Don't Bother Me."
Yeah,
we all thought that song was terrible. Oh wait,
I like "Don't Bother Me."
Most of us hated "Don't Bother Me." It's very difficult to all
I
agree.
just thought it was okay. So,
but you compare "Don't Bother Me" with this song. How many years? That was 1964. This is 1969. 5 years. So guess what? That's the same amount of time it is from the current moment to when COVID started.
Yeah.
Same amount of time.
oh wow,
Yeah, George Harrison became a great songwriter in that amount of time.
Yep.
And the Beatles, that's it. That's how long the Beatles were around for. Because they were gone after this. Like they had let it be, but they'd already broken up at that point. So like that's literally how long the Beatles were a thing for. Those of you who got to see them live, they were only performing live for like 2, maybe 3 years. So you're even luckier if you got to see them live. But if you were around to witness the release of a new Beatles album, they really weren't around for that long. Maybe about from 63 to 70 is like 7 years. That's really not that long. But Here Comes the Sun. Starting out with that amazing guitar intro that George Harrison wrote when he was at Eric Clapton's garden. I love it. Every time I hear that, it just puts me in a good mood. I used to have this as my alarm to wake up every day. I don't know why I switched it. Maybe I should switch it back. But I love that. And then it goes boo doo doo meow. That's the synthesizer, and I love how that does that and goes straight into the song. Here comes the sun, doo doo doo. Here comes the sun, I say it's alright. And then ba doo 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 doo. That's a time signature change to a tricky one. They see like the Beatles. They said they don't have any formal music training, but they're coming up with these complicated stuff. Like how good are their ears?
Yeah,
I have no idea how they do that.
Am I right that that's a hard guitar part, Scott?
Yeah.
Okay.
It is because it changes time signatures there, and it goes into a weird time signature for a little bit, and you have to go about dun 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 dun. Yeah, it's tricky. But dun 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 dun. And then the second verse, they add the synthesizer in there, which is really cool. And then I love the little bridge section. Dun 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 sun 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 here it comes, and it just keeps building up on that. Like it gets more synthesizer and more guitars in there, all leading into that boom down 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 down. It's just a feel good song. It always makes you feel happy. I love it.
All right. So I'm going to come out and say it. I think George Harrison is secretly the MVP on this album.
Yeah.
Both of his songs are in my top three. Something, Here Comes the Sun. Crazy thing is, I used to not care for this song at one point because I'm with Nick. One of the first times I heard this song was when Sheryl Crow sang it in the Bee Movie, and I'm like, this song is annoying. Why is this song here? And I heard George Harrison and the Beatles sang it. I'm like, this is the real version of Here Comes the Sun. And it's awesome. The guitar work, the acoustic guitar work is amazing. Solidifies George Harrison as a great guitar player. Some of my favorite harmonies on any Beatles song. The production in it's really good. I love the simplistic lyrics of hope and optimism. That middle section where they're like, sun, 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 here it comes, is one of my favorite things in any Beatles song. I think at one time this was my favorite Beatles song. And this was when I still thought the Beatles were overrated. And this was like the one Beatles song I was like, this is like the one Beatles song I loved. Because I used to thought like Hey Jude and Yellow Submarine and other Beatles songs were awful. But then the more Beatles songs I was listening to, I'm like, yeah, the Beatles is awesome. They're one of the best bands. So I think a lot of it all kind of started with this song, if I'm being honest. So yeah, Here Comes the Sun. Great song. One of the best on the album. Now we go from Here Comes the Sun to Because.
So this one is a bit weird to me. I actually kind of like the harmonies here, but it sounds like this is being played on a harpsichord, and I know it's not a harpsichord. It's probably the synthesizer again. Scott, please correct me. I know I'm way wrong, but this is one of the songs I don't really know how to place. I liked it, but I didn't really love it.
This is one of my favorite songs on the album. As you know, I'm a sucker for Baroque pop songs. This fits in that Baroque style with the and then the harmonies come in. Because the world is round. I'm forgetting the lyrics right now, but you get the idea. And I know John Lennon is doing the main melody, vocals. Paul McCartney's doing the high end of the harmonies, and George Harrison's doing the lower end of the harmonies. And all three of them form into this perfect blend of harmonies. I mean, I've said this before, and I say this again. Beatles are one of the best harmony bands of the 60s. This is proof of that. I think the harmonies on here are top class. This was a huge highlight for me.
Yeah, I like the song. It's got some of the best Beatle harmonies I think I've ever heard. Yeah, like you said, when they do that. And the sky. Like they do that part. Oh my gosh. Really great stuff there. I feel like the songs maybe too short. Like I feel like I think a lot about of all these songs on this side of the album. It feels like a lot of unfinished songs, and they are. I guess the truth is there are a lot of unfinished songs on this second side that they kind of threw together and made this medley, of course, eventually. But I don't know. This feels like there could have been more to the song for me, if that's a weird thing to say, because I do think there's some. Yeah, the harmonies. It's kind of beautiful, just the melody and everything. Yeah, I think it's not like one of my all-time favorite songs, but it's a solid song.
All right. Well, I
Please,
just came back.
please come back to me. Something came up. I'll be back in like 5 seconds. But
Okay.
All right. Well, I guess I'll share my thoughts while we're waiting on Scott. I love this song. This is another great song on the album. The funny thing is, when I first heard the album, this song I completely overlooked. And then there was a movie that came out a few years ago. It was a sci-fi movie. Just kind of came and went. It didn't do that well at the box office. But I remember seeing the trailer for a film called Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets. And this song was used in the teaser trailer for this
Okay.
film. And I watched that teaser trailer and I'm like, is that the Beatles? Is this a Beatles song? This song is amazing. Like the harmonies on it, like it's a kind of a trippy, almost creepy sounding song. And I'm like, this is an awesome song. And I found out it was on Abbey Road, and I'm like, how did I sleep on this song? Like it is so good. Like that I don't know the instrument that's used on it. I think it's a organ, I guess, or harpsichord, one of those two.
Yeah.
Really cool effect there, and the harmonies of this song are amazing. This album is so stacked, it's not even in my top 5. That just tells you how great of a song this is. This is like, to me, probably the biggest sleeper song on this album, the most underrated, like the one you don't hear people talk about as much. But this song is awesome. And Scott isn't back yet, so I guess we'll just
Fine,
I
guess.
guess just wait on him.
Well, since we're waiting, I'm gonna address. I've been watching the Knicks game, Knicks versus Lakers.
Are they winning?
One former Mavericks player versus another former Mavericks player.
Yeah.
Brunson versus
Brunson.
Luka Doncic. And I'm watching Luka, and I'm like, man, the Mavs are so stupid.
Okay.
Worst trade in NBA history.
Yeah.
All right. This Scott just messaged whatever he's delayed. It's important. So I think what I might do.
okay,
Oh, he's back. Okay. Oh, if it took you another 5-10 minutes, we were gonna go on further, and then you can catch up on the others. But you're back now, so share your thoughts on Because.
I'm gonna be brief about this one because even though I love it, I don't have as much to say about it. But I love the harmonies on this one. Each one of them recorded their vocal harmony part for it 4 different times, and they put all of that on top of each other. So there's like they had 3 people singing, and it recorded 4 different times. So you're hearing 12 different Beatles singing on this song.
Oh wow, this is one of the earliest cases of overdubbing.
Right. Yeah.
So it's a really cool vocal effect, and I really I love the harpsichord sounding thing at the beginning. Down, 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 dun, 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 dun. Oh, great! It's I Want You, She's So Heavy again. But I love the harmonies that make it really cool, and I like whenever the synthesizer comes in with the boom, 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 boom. Super cool and kind of an ominous way to begin before the medley.
All right. Well, now we begin the medley. We'll start with the first song on the medley first, and that is "You Never Give Me Your Money."
Are we talking about Sun King with it, or is that could be part of the Me, Mr. Mister?
Sun King is its own thing, and then so the rest of them I've combined.
Okay.
So the piano on this song is so gorgeous. Like it hit me right here. It didn't make my 5, but if I had to do a best discovery, You Never Give Me Your Money would make my best discovery hands down. Just, it's a beautiful song, and make no mistake.
Okay, I'm good. Yeah, this is another big highlight on the album for me. of the songs on the medley, this definitely feels the least like it's a part of the medley. It feels like it's its own song, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, they technically recall it on Carry That Weight, but I digress. But yeah, this is to me the best song on the medley, and I have it in my top 5 as its own song. And there's just so much things I love about it. I love the part where it's like at college, money spent. Bum, 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 see no future. All the money's gone, don't know where to go. Oh, that magic feeling, nowhere to go. I'm probably butchering the lyrics so badly, but whatever. You get the idea. This is an awesome song, and I love the harmonies with the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, good boy, good, go to heaven. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, I love the song. This is a huge highlight for me.
Yeah, it's definitely like an underrated song. That's not a big hit for them. And this is a song I really didn't know that much until I feel like much later as a Beatle fan. It was one that I kind of skipped over a lot. But it's funny. I remember I had a Paul McCartney like live album in his U.S. tour, like maybe right after 9/11. And it's a really good. I don't have any more, but it's a really good double live album where he hits a lot of his big hits. And he plays this. I think he plays this on it. And I remember going, "What song is this? I don't remember the song." And then I found out that this is on Abbey Roads. Like I kind of skip over this whole medley part usually on the Abbey Roads thing because these aren't like these aren't like big songs on the album. But it's a good song. I think it's like I said, definitely one that people don't probably know about as much. And of course, he wrote it because they were in these meetings and he was they're fighting over who's the manager is going to be because Epstein died, and then the other three wanted Alan Klein to be the manager. Paul McCartney wanted his wife's father, Eastman, to be the manager. Of course, they're like, we don't want you. You'd have all the power if we hire your father-in-law as the manager. So because he was a lawyer as well. And so they're, I think that's where he got like the gist of writing the song, because there's a lot of, like I said, there's a lot of issues with the Beatles because of the whole manager issue, and they eventually would sue each other and stuff, and it's a mess. But anyways,
What a cool way to start this medley off. We start out with the piano boom, 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 boom. It's a cool little piano melody there, and then Paul McCartney sings and kind of follows along with what the piano is doing. But then he goes dum dum ba dum 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 dum, and then you get this ragtimey piano, and he sings like out of college, money spent, see no future, pay no rent. All the money's gone, nowhere to go. Yeah, cool piano there. And then it switches. There's so many changes in this song. Oh, that magic feeling, nowhere to go. And then there's a cool little guitar solo. And it kind of keeps going higher. And it switches again. One sweet dream. Pick up the bags and get in the limousine. Soon we'll be away from here. Step on the gas and wipe that tear away. And then it switches again. Down, 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 down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All good children go to. It just switches. It keeps switches. This is kind of like almost like Paul McCartney's Good Vibrations, and the fact that it keeps just switching around. It's a really cool song. I really like it.
Yeah, this is one like the medley is an interesting one for me because some of these songs I don't hear that often because I guess the nature of it. There's one we'll get to that's like top tier Beatles in my opinion, but some of these other songs on the medley I've only heard probably about 2 or 3 times. So I will say, of all the songs in the medley I wasn't as familiar with, this one was one I kind of slept on a little bit. I actually do really like this one. I like the melody at the beginning of the song, which funny they carry it over and carry that weight, which we'll get to. The piano part's pretty cool, and I like some of the tempo changes throughout the song. It's very unpredictable. This one just made it onto my top 10 songs on the album. So this is another really good one. All right, our next song on the medley is The Sun King, the second song about the sun, apparently.
Sun King.
Here comes the sun and the Sun King.
Bit of a theme. But I liked this one just fine. I'm not gonna fall over myself in love with it. I thought it was pretty good, but that's all I can say about it.
I'm gonna be honest. I really don't like this track. It's so boring. Like so boring. The music, it's okay. Boom, 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 boom. And then the vocals come in. Here comes the Sun King. Yeah, don't care for it at all.
Yeah, I think this is a fine song. I do like the guitar playing at the beginning, or the vibe at the beginning. There's kind of a long intro to the song. It's kind of cool sounding though. I kind of like the sounding of that. Yeah, and then they come in with the Sun King, and there's some good harmonies there. It just again feels like it's probably an unfinished song. It just feels like there's more. There should be more to the song than what I'm hearing. It feels like it just ends and it's like, is that it? Like that's the whole song. So it's kind of like it's not a bad sounding song, but yet it just I always felt incomplete, and that's what I feel like about like a lot of songs on this side. This feels like a lot of incomplete songs that they put together, and I wanted a little more.
This one is a vibe. It starts out with the sounds of crickets chirping, which is cool, and kind of just sets the mood. You feel like you're on your back porch on a sunny, or not sunny, but like a summer night where it's dawn, or no, dusk. And the sun is setting, and you hear the crickets, and you're just enjoying being outside. This song was inspired by a Fleetwood Mac song called Albatross, which is an instrumental song. Check that out. That's a cool early Fleetwood Mac song. A lot better than Dust My Room.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I like the guitar. Dun 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 dun. And I like the bass. Dun 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 dun. There's kind of an odd section where they start singing. I don't know if it's an actual foreign language or if they're just saying random words. Because some of it sounds like just like random words that they want you to think they're speaking a different language. But it's actually just random words because they say something like Mundo Paparazzi something carousel. I'm like, that can't be an actual sentence. It has to have been just like random words that they made that they thought sounded funny. But then we get and it goes into our next
song. I'm gonna be honest, this is my least favorite song on the album. I don't dislike it like Nick does. I do like the production on it. The harmonies on it are pretty good, but it's just one that just happened to be last compared to the other great songs on the album. And that's all I have to say on it. So very brief. The next three songs I combined into one because I think they connect so well together. So we got Mean Mr. Mustard, Polythene Pan, and She Came In Through the Bathroom Window.
What did she do when she came in through the window? The world will never know. But I liked Mean Mr. Mustard the most of these three. All combined, I think these were pretty good, but this medley would have way better stuff involved in it at the next couple songs, but we'll get to that. So this was pretty good.
Start off with Me, Mr. Mustard. I love Me, Mr. Mustard. Great song. Me, Mr. Mustard sleeps in the bum bum in bum 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 bum. Such a dirty old man. Dun, 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 dirty old man. It goes into Polythene Pan. Bam, 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 bam. Bum, 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 bum. As you see, Polythene Pam. She's so good. She's so good looking, but she looks like a man. And I'm like, is this dude looks like a lady before dude looks like a lady?
Yeah.
Mark?
Or Lola.
Pretty
Oh yeah,
much.
Lola. Oh, yeah, this technically was before Lola, but yeah,
Well,
I like it so
around the
much. Yeah. But such a fun song. Then you have She Came In Through the Bathroom Window. Oh, I love that song. She came in through the bathroom window. But I knew, did anybody tell her? I like the part where it's like she could steal, but she could not rob. And it's like those lyrics make no sense. So like, I quit the police department to get a steady job. It's like, isn't being a police officer a steady job? There's like a lot of like lyrics that like contradict each other, and that's what I love about the song. I didn't notice that. My dad noticed that. He's like, you know, it sounds like she could steal, but she cannot rob. And it's like, yeah, it's like, I like it though. I like how like that's what I love about the song, and yeah, I like all three of these medleys.
Yeah, so me and Mr. Mustard, Polythene Pam, they're some of my least favorite songs on this album, and probably some of my least favorite Beatles songs of all time. They're nothing songs. It's like John started with a song, he never completed it, and these two songs they threw it in there because they're like, hey, let's just throw it in this medley of these unfinished songs. And yeah, I don't know, there's nothing to them. They're so short. It comes and goes, and it's like whatever. She Came Through the Bathroom Window is definitely the best song out of these three. And to answer Ryan about the kind of what happened here was he left the bathroom window open and somebody climbed through it and stole some of his stuff. And he came home and stuff was stolen, and he found out that they climbed through that bathroom window. He didn't think about, I guess, closing. And but leave it to Paul to write a song about it, and it's a Beatles song now. And it's like I would just that and
There's a saying in journalism: write what you know.
exactly. He's like, I don't know how he's like. It's like, what? My stuff is gone. What happened? They came through the bathroom window, and it's like, ding, like that's I like that wording or something. Same thing with Lovely Rita. He gets a ticket from a meter maid, and then writes a song about Rita the meter maid. I don't know. Paul does that sometimes. He takes a normal thing that we go through, and it's on a Beatle record forever. Anyways, not much more to say except that's a decent song. Again, not one of my favorites, but it's got some good stuff.
Mean Mr. Mustard. So we get that on the drums, and then Mean Mr. Mustard sleeps in the shop, and it's got another little like jaunty feel to it, kind of like Maxwell Silverhammer with the boom, 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 boom. And Mean Mr. Mustard is just like this cranky old homeless man who all he does is he just like he never really goes anywhere, but when he does, he goes and he ridicules the Queen. That's like all he does. But he apparently is like Ebenezer Scrooge, that he still likes to save up all his money and never spends it on anything. But he says he's saving to buy him some clothes. So does that insinuate that he doesn't have any clothes?
And not good ones.
Weird story, but did anybody else notice that Polythene Pam is his sister? They're connected. They said that his sister Pam works in a shop. She never stops. She's a go-getter. And then now we're going to talk about Pam. But the funny thing is, she looks like a man. So to answer Nick's question, Aerosmith is dude looks like a lady. This is lady looks like a dude. But I like the guitar on Polythene Pam. This boom, 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 down, 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 down. And I like the backing vocals. The and then at the very end, there's this cool section that's like boom, 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 and then John just goes, "Oh, look out!"
Yeah.
Funny thing, because that's the last thing he says on this album, and since this is the chronologically recorded or last Beatles album, the last thing that John Lennon ever said on a Beatles album was, "Oh, look out," which is interesting.
That's right. Yeah.
I mean, I hope we pass the audition is a much better way for him to end his time with the Beatles, but
Yeah.
going by the last thing recorded on a Beatles album was, "Oh, look out."
Came in through. Yeah.
And then we get, "She came in through the bathroom." That's probably the best transition on the album is between Polythene Pam and "She came in through the bathroom window." Because I think they actually, other than all the other songs which were spliced together, those two they actually played back to back in the studio, and because of that, it makes for the best transition between songs. But I love when Paul comes in with "She came in through the bathroom window," and we get some more backing vocals, and the guitar goes doo 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 boom. And I like what Nick was saying. "She could steal, but she could not rob." That's a good line that he pointed out. I love the little chorus thing. The "Didn't anybody tell her? But down, wow, didn't anybody see? Sunday's on the phone to Monday. Tuesday's on the phone to me. Oh yeah." It's a fun song. Some of the lyrics are kind of goofy. Like, "I quit the police department and got myself a steady job." It's kind of funny. Or it's like, "She worked at 15 clubs a day." That's like, what? That's ridiculous. But it's a fun song. I enjoy this one.
I think you can put a story within these three songs. You got Mean Mr. Mustard, who's a really mean old dude. You got Polythene Pam, who Scott pointed out was his sister. And Jason brought up the story about a woman coming through the bathroom window to steal his stuff. I guess Polythene Pam came in through the bathroom window to steal her brother's stuff. It all makes sense.
There you go.
But yeah, this is a cool medley. I think of the three, I liked Mean Mr. Mustard the best. I think the weakest part's Polythene Pam, but I do like the Mean Mr. Mustard part and the "She came in through the bathroom window" part. I think there's some cool guitar playing on it. It's probably still one of the weaker tracks on the album, but it's still fun to listen to. All right, now we get to the big finale on this album. And I decided to combine these three as well because even the first time I heard this song, it's like you can't really separate these three songs. To me, it's just one song. Golden Slumbers, Carry That Weight, and The End.
So this whole medley is top 3. I loved this whole thing. And like I mentioned earlier in the stream, I heard 2 of these songs in a different context than, oh, this is a Beatles song. Well, here it is. In 2015, there was a movie that came out called Sing. It's from Illumination, the people that made the Minions movies. I'm sure some people watching or on this stream have gotten migraines thinking about the Minions. I do apologize profusely. However, one of the first scenes of the Sing movie is the operatic sheep, I guess, singing an operatic version of "Once There Was a Way to Get Back Homeward." And I'm like, this is really nice. And then when I heard Paul McCartney sing "Once There Was a Way to Get Back Homeward," I'm like, wait a minute, what is this? And then sure enough, it's the same song. So I had heard this song before, just in a completely different setting. The point is that this Golden Slumbers is just so tranquil, so gorgeous. And then you smash cut that into the "Boy, you're gonna carry that weight." I love this. And I was reading the comments underneath the YouTube video, and I'm like, oh, this is their version of saying goodbye to their fans. I'm like, wait a minute. Let It Be is coming out a year after this. But then I didn't know that they had actually recorded Let It Be before this. So the commenter was right and I was wrong. So this was kind of their way of saying goodbye, and that just hits like a ton of bricks. This whole 3-song melody it's a severely underrated total package of Beatles stuff. And I could put it more elegantly than that, but it's almost midnight, so that's the best you're getting right now.
Okay. My thoughts on Golden Slumbers. I mean, yeah, the song's great. Such a beautiful song. You know, once there was a way to get back homeward. Once there was a way to get back home. Sleep, bomb, don't you cry, and I'll sing a lullaby. Golden slumbers fill your eyes. Smiles that... Forgetting the lyrics now, but you get the idea. It's such an awesome song. And then it goes into Carry That Weight. Boy, you're gonna carry that weight a long time. And the funny thing is that whenever there's multiple Beatles doing harmonies and Ringo's involved, I always end up hearing Ringo the most. Like, his vocals are just so powerful. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that in the best way possible. You can just hear Ringo the most. Like, I could hear Ringo. Like,
I can hear him on Bungalow Bill louder than anybody else.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, considering Yoko's on that song, it's probably for the best.
Sadly, I hear Yoko the most.
Yeah.
As for the end, I'm half and half with the track because I love the ending part with the "and in the end, the love you take is equal to the love she makes." Oh my gosh, I love that part. But my problem is that there's just too much buildup to that part. It just, to me, I'm not a fan of any of the solos. I feel like the solos kind of meander, in my opinion. Like, the drum solo was okay. It was decent. I don't know why. Just not a crazy big fan of the guitar solos, but that's just me. Yeah, I will say though, despite that, I think the ending is so good.
Yeah, Golden Slumbers. Yeah, it's a beautiful song. Paul McCartney, he wrote the song from like a lullaby, I want to say, or something that he found in a piano one time, and he loved the melody. And I know he borrowed like the melody, so it's like it's an original, but he kind of borrowed the melody from like an older song. He might even borrowed this. I can't remember if he borrowed the lyrics too.
I think it was just the words, but he didn't know how to play it, so he said,
Oh,
I'll
okay.
write my own melody.
Okay, so he found the words and then he wrote a melody. Okay, yeah, so that's how. So it's kind of original. He kind of covered it from something else written. But anyways, yeah. I was gonna say the same thing. I love that in the movie Sing, they start the movie with Golden Slumbers, and that I love that. And I like the movie Sing. I know Jacob, I think, likes it. I'm guessing Ryan likes it. A lot of music. If you like music, it's a good movie for a lot of really good pop hits and stuff. And Golden Slumbers is kind of an obscure Beatles song. It's not really a major Beatles song. So the fact that Sing picked Golden Slumbers to start the movie, I thought was so cool. I was like, wow, what a cool idea to start with Golden. There's so many songs you could have picked, and you went with Golden Slumbers. Like, that's like a deep cut. I'm like, good on you, Sing, for picking a cool deep cut to start the movie with. Anyways, but yeah, it's one of my favorite songs in this album. It's great, one of the great deep cuts I think of them. The song could have gone longer. I think it's really beautiful. As Nick was singing along, it's yeah. Carry That Weight, yeah, Carry That Weight, another good deep cut, very catchy. That boy, you're gonna carry that way, yeah, super catchy. Another good deep cut as well. The end, I kind of, I agree. I pretty much agree with everything Nick is saying on there. It's like, I know it's kind of a jam song. It's not really a song like the other songs. It's like, and it's just them trading guitar solos. And there's, I admire that. I guess there's a coolness to it. That fact that John, George, and John, Paul, George, they're trading these guitar solos, and so it's kind of cool to go, man. These three, the Beatles started with these three members, basically carried this band, and until Ringo came along as well, and so it's kind of cool to have them trade off these solos. But I agree with Nick. I don't really care for the guitar solos. It's as he says, yeah, it's just meandering and it's just a jam. It's like there's nothing really to it, to be honest. But then that last part, and I do love the fact that the very last song, basically the last song on the last album, is the end, and I absolutely love that. I love that they ended their discography basically on a song called "The End" because it's the end. In my opinion, it's the end of the greatest band of all time, and what a way to end their career. I mean, on this song with and in the end, the love you take is equal to the love you make is equal to the love you take, or whatever. It's a beautiful sentiment. It's a beautiful way of ending it. It's just beautiful. Like, it's nothing like the first part of the song. It's just a jam song, and all of a sudden you get that really beautiful part, and you're like, well, why can't this be the whole song? Like, I'm like, write a song with this melody and make a whole song out of this. That's what I always thought. But yeah, it's a really good positive image to end my favorite band of all time. So I think it's awesome.
Golden Slumbers. So we're starting out with the piano. Dum, 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 dum. And he's singing the Once There Was a Way to Get Back Home. And then the orchestra comes in and is like, whoa, like this is gonna be pretty epic. And then he hits that golden slumbers fill your eyes by smiles awake you when you rise. Kind of like that. He's getting some behind it. Really killing it on the vocals. And then it's like, I will sing a lullaby. Bow, ba-da, bow, boy. You're gonna carry that weight a long time. And it's cool because all of them are singing. It's one of the only songs where all four of them sing at the same time.
Yeah.
And then the orchestra starts playing. Ba, 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 ba. Da, 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 da. That's taken from You Never Give Me Your Money. And then George gets a little mini guitar solo. And then you get a little recall back to You Never Give Me Your Money. I never give you my number. Oh, that's the harmony. I never give you my number. I only give you my signature, my invitation, whatever it is. A breakdown, bum, 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 right back to boy, you're gonna carry that way. And then you get the down, 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 from You Never Give Me Your Money. Bow, down, 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 down. And then it switches to the end. Bow, 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 down, 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 bow, down, down. And then he's like screaming, oh yeah, all right, oh, you're gonna be in my dreams, down, down, oh, tonight. And then Ringo gets a drum solo. At first he starts by just keeping the beat with a and then he just throws some, his solo is basically just keeping the beat, but he throws fills in there. So it's like pop, 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 pop. And then the guitars come in. Bow, 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 bow. And then all three of them that play guitar anyway, George, Paul, and John, switch off. They're doing a three-way guitar duel. I think that's so cool.
Yeah.
You start out with Paul doing his and then George comes in. I mean, obviously, like, George is the best guitar player, so I like his parts the best. But I like Paul's too. But George's guitar solos all kind of sound kind of like Eric Clapton on here. But then we get John, and John goes all Revolution on there, just like like stuff like that. And then Paul McCartney comes back in with the Benny, like, what is it? It's like bam, 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 and then George has kind of like a and then John, he has like a bow, 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 and then Paul's is and then my favorite lick is, this is the really Eric Clapton sounding one, is the one after that George does that goes bow, 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 and then John is just like bow, 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 and the piano bow, 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 and in the end, the love you take is equal to the love you make, and then Ringo, and the guitar chords, that like, for me, it's just the sound of the Beatles ending right there. It's like, man, and like, I can't even describe what I feel when I hear the end of this song. It's just like, you just feel something. It's like, man, I'm sad because it's the end of the Beatles, but at the same time, like, wow, like all the music we've been through to get to this point. It's amazing. Great end.
All right. Yeah, this is excellent way to close out this album. Of all the songs in the medley portion, this is my favorite part. Golden Slumbers, beautiful vocals from Paul McCartney. I love the piano work on it. Really great stuff. Then you got Carry That Weight, which definitely the most singable part of it. The boy, you're gonna carry that weight. It always cracks me up that I think one of the lines is, I never give you my pillow. I don't know the context of that, but it's kind of funny that's in there. And then you got the end, which I actually love that part too. The jam session that builds up to the final line is really epic. And it feels like farewell from the Beatles. I don't know if this was intended to be the last album. I think they were starting to implode on themselves, but if Let It Be hadn't come out after this album, this would have been like an amazing final album for the Beatles. And yeah, it's a great track. These three songs combined, I wanted to have this in my top 5, but my top 5 is so good it just barely missed it. And that wraps up our review of Abbey Road, but we got 2 bonus songs I wanted to talk about first. Songs that were released around the same time as the Abbey Road album. Start off with the B-side first, save the bigger song for last. Old Brown Shoe. Curious what we all think of this one.
I can see why this one was left off, but I still think it's a really good song. Like,
okay. Yeah, of the 3 George Harrison songs we're covering, this is by far the weakest of the 3. I mean, I know I'm not going to be hurting anyone's feelings on that take. It's okay. It's an okay B-side. I don't really have much more to add either.
This is one of my least favorite songs in the Beatles catalog. I never listened to the song because it's not on any album. You'd have to listen to past masters to get to it or whatever. So it's like, it's a song I rarely ever listen to. And when I do, I'm like, this is a terrible song. This is one of those terrible B-sides that just are so obscure. I even forget this. As a big Beatles fan, I forget this song exists until someone mentions it. I'm like, oh yeah, that's a song. It's terrible.
This is an okay George Harrison song. I like the guitar riff. Bow, 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 bow. And the lyrics are kind of interesting, talking about duality, like, he keeps saying, like, opposites of things. But that's about it. It's kind of there, and then it's gone. It's not one of my favorites. And a lot of the times we talk about these singles, it's like, I can't believe they didn't put this on the album. You're not going to be hearing that this time. The album is perfect as it is. Keep this as the B-side. This is the definition of B-side.
Yeah. I'm kind of in agreement. I don't dislike the song like Jason does. I think it's a really cool sounding song. I had to actually look at it because Nick said George Harrison sung it. I thought John Lennon sung this one. Then I looked up, I'm like, oh, it is George. He sounds like John Lennon on this song, strangely enough, in my ears. But I like the bluesiness of the song. I think that's pretty cool. I think is there like a harmonica on here too? I think that was pretty good. I can see why this wasn't on the album, and I'm not gonna like whine and complain that they did not put this on the album because I think if this was on the album, it would feel out of place. But as a B-side, it's not bad. Now we go to the big hit song that was not on the Abbey Road album, "The Ballad of John and Yoko."
So when I was preparing to listen to this, I said a prayer to God. I said, God, please make this at least listenable. Please, for the love of your creation, please let this be listenable. Because I was preparing for some bullshit with and John being like just doing various things out of a Nightmare on Elm Street film. This song's actually very good. Like, better than I know I heard it before. It's better than I remembered it being. I can see why it got left off, but it's still very good.
Yeah, I'm definitely the biggest fan of this song. I know Jason and Scott really don't like this song. Sorry I spoiled you guys review on this.
World.
I'm like, they're like bigger Beatle fans than me, but I'm like, this is like one of my favorite Beatles songs. I'm really upset this wasn't on Abbey Road, in my opinion. Instead of that silly Hammer song, have this on it instead. It's insane. I really like this song because it's like Paul and John getting along for one more time. It's kind of like their last hurrah as like a duo. The harmonies from Paul are great. She's gonna crucify me. Love so good. Yeah, to me, this is a big song I wish was on the album.
Yeah, this is like, it's one of my least favorite Beatles songs, and it was a number one. It went number one. I think it might have been their number one single that they put out or something like that. And it's the worst number one single that they ever put out. I hate that they made a number one out of this. I can't believe it. I don't think many people talk about the song. I don't know how it's a number one. When you talk about great Beatles songs, this is not one of them. I think anybody ever talks about that. At least that I hear people when we talk about Beatles. The interesting fact of this, it's just John and Paul. Ringo and George are not on this song at all, because John kind of came up with the song kind of on the whim or kind of impromptu, I guess, in a bit, because he was trying to get married to Yoko, and he was having a lot of problems, and the song kind of tells the story of how they're having trouble. They had to go to different places, and they went loud to get married or something. I don't know. I can't remember exactly what the story is, but they were having a lot of trouble, and so John kind of started writing this song based on that, and the only person around, I guess, was Paul, and so I'm sure Paul was doing like the drums and the bass or something, and John was maybe doing guitar. I don't know. So it's an interesting story, I guess, behind it. But yeah, musically, I never cared for the overall music of it. And there's something about the lyrics. Christ, I know it ain't easy. I know how hard it can be. The way things are going, they're going to crucify me. I just those lyrics just rub me wrong. I don't know if he's trying to compare himself to Jesus when Jesus got crucified, and it's like, I'm getting crucified like Jesus. Maybe I'm reading way too much in the lyrics. If I am, I'm sorry, but I just know that I never liked those lyrics, and like I didn't like him using the word Christ at all. None of it I like. Anyway, so I'll go to you, Scott. See what you think.
Ready for my hot take? I don't have a lot of them, but here's one of them.
Okay, I think you're in agreement with me then.
I hear a garbage can coming up.
Yeah.
I mean, technically the song's not terrible, but the fact that this was a number one single just baffles me.
Okay.
Like, this was on the Blue album. I never really listened to it that much, but every time I heard it, I was like, this is on the Beatles' greatest hits. Like, it's like they have so many better songs, and this was a big hit. I just don't understand that. Like, it's not even the Beatles; it's John and Paul. I mean, granted, the White Album, a lot of the songs are just one of them, but still, like, Ringo's not drumming on here. There's no George on here, and I guess another reason I don't like it is because it's about Yoko. I guess.
Yeah.
But the only thing I like about it is the bass that's like the don't. That's pretty cool, but I don't like the way he sings. Like, there's some kind of weird effect on this voice, like "Standing in the dockets of heaven."
Yeah.
I'm like, if I think of a great Beatles song, this is not one that I'm going to point to. In fact, I didn't even listen to this song in preparation. I have probably listened to this song less times than I have fingers on my hand.
Ooh.
Because every time that I have heard it, I'm just like, I just don't like this. I don't really care for the story. It's just how John and Yoko ended up together when obviously like his first wife was a lot better. And I don't like the melody. Other than sitting in the dockets of Hampton and they're going to crucify me. Those are the only two lines I can remember from the whole song. Everything else is before they make me run. And yet somehow that was a #1 single. I don't get it. That's just me.
Yeah.
It's the Beatles, so I get it.
I actually did a check. It only went to #1 in the UK. In the US, it reached the top 10. It reached like #8. So where we're at, it did not go to #1. It only went to #1 in England. So to clarify on that. As for my thoughts on the song, because it's kind of divisive, I'm in the middle on it. I don't hate it. I don't love it either. The subject matter of the song is kind of icky because I'm not real big on John and Yoko for obvious reasons. The melody's catchy. I do like the melody. It's cool that John and Paul are the only ones playing on the track, and Paul's harmony vocals on this song are actually pretty awesome. That's my favorite part of the song. I'm not fully offended by the crucify reference because if you look at the history of crucifixion, it's like it wasn't just Jesus that was crucified. That was the common punishment of like your worst criminals in the Roman Empire. So if you make a comparison to being crucified, that's not going to offend me. I don't like how he indirectly uses Christ like he's no big deal. That's like my only real issue with that. But the crucify line, I don't have a problem with that. The song itself, to me, is just okay. Like, it's catchy. I'm not real big on the subject matter. To me, it's just their Beatles song. And now we get to our top 5 songs from Abbey Road. I'm curious what everybody's top 5 is going to be, or I guess you can do a top 10 if you want. But
So for my number 5 is Come Together. Number 4, I Want You, She's So Heavy. Number 3, Here Comes the Sun. Number 2, the 3-song medley, of Golden Slumbers, Carry That Weight, and The End. And number 1, Octopus Garden.
I had a feeling.
Okay.
Jason, am my cred still good? Do you agree? Just checking.
Number 5, Because. Number 4, You Never Give Me Your Money. Number 3, Here Comes the Sun. Number 2, Something. And number 1, Octopus's Garden.
Wow, 2 for Octopus's Garden. Interesting, because I think we're going to get, well, we'll see with me and Scott. I think we agree on the number 1 song. I have a feeling. Number 5, I put Golden Slumbers. And I guess if you want to throw the other 2 songs in there, that's fine. But for me, I just put Golden Slumbers down. But number 4, Octopus's Garden. Number 3, Come Together. Number 2, Here Comes the Sun. And number 1 is Something.
Okay, I'm going to give an extremely high honorable mention to Octopus's Garden, which I here now I've just been trying to rearrange my top 5 to try to get it in there. I just couldn't. Number 5, we're going to go with Oh Darling. Number 4, Come Together. Number 3, Here Comes the Sun. Number 2, Golden Slumbers / Carry That Weight / The End. And if I could, I'd say the whole medley, but I know that would probably be cheating. And number 1 is Something, the song that I broke down for you guys and probably spent a good 30 minutes of this 2.5-hour video talking about.
The biggest breakdown I think we've ever had on the channel.
Yeah. That and probably when you did Ripples, I think, are the 2 biggies.
Okay.
Yeah. This is what makes this song great.
But yeah, I'll just do a top 10 because it's that good of an album. Number 10, You Never Give Me Your Money. Number 9, Maxwell's Silver Hammer. Number 8, I Want You, She's So Heavy. Number 7, Because. Number 6, and I hate that I'm not putting this in my top 5. This was just close. Number 6, Golden Slumbers, Carry That Weight in the End. So close. But my top 5, number 5, Octopus's Garden. Number 4, Old Darling. Number 3, Something.
Okay.
Number 2, Come Together. Number 1 for me is Here Comes the Sun.
Great song.
So 2 Octopus's Garden, 2 Somethings, and Here Comes the Sun. I'll be odd man out.
It's all Ringo and George? Are you telling me it's all Ringo and George in the number 1 spot?
Yeah, that's weird. No Lennon or McCartney. Wow.
I don't think
Crazy. I mean, even John Lennon said that George had the best song on the album. I think Lennon said that Something was his favorite song on this album. So
that is so funny. I just now realized that. I was like, John Paul, nowhere to be found.
It's all George and Ringo on this one.
Ringo. That's so cool.
Yeah, very cool. All right. Well, what are we going to rate this album?
Full on 10. I love this.
Well, despite my problems, I have to give it a 10 out of 10. I do like this more than Yellow Submarine, so it'll be a crime if I rated this lower than Yellow Submarine. So I got to give it a 10 out of 10.
Oh, man. Oh, gosh.
Oh.
I'm giving it a 9.5, and now I feel everybody's giving it 10.
Do it.
You want me to give it a 10? Should I give it a 10?
Do it, Jason. Do it.
Up to you, Jason.
Be honest about it. We don't have to pressure you.
I
Search
feel
your
bad.
feelings. You know it to be
Oh,
true.
dark.
All right,
You don't
Darth
make it-
Vader.
Maxwell Silverhammer, I just can't give it. I just can't give it a 10.
All right.
I ain't forcing you.
All right. In my book, this is the GOAT. This is my favorite album.
Mhm.
Can we make an exception? Can I give this an 11? And maybe that we'll average a 10 if we do that?
No, we're not doing
Just
that.
one, just once. Just once.
It's Jacob's.
Well,
I would give this an 11 if I could.
Them's the rules. Got 10's the highest we can go.
Wait, we do 9.5, so can I do 10.5?
No,
We allow 9.5s and we allow 8.5s. Can I do 10.5?
nothing higher than a 10, Scott. You know the rules.
all right. Well, it's a 10 for me as well. One of the best Beatles albums. Don't really have much to add there. It's one of the best albums, period. I averaged it out. Even with the 9.5, the average score is a 9.9. So because of that, I'm going to round it up to a 10.
Okay,
There you
good.
go. There you go.
9.9.
9.9.
So that's our average. So technically, this is 2 Beatles albums with the average of 10, the other one being Rubber Soul.
So can we all agree that, or how are we going to decide which one is going to be higher on our average ranking?
I don't know.
Cast your vote. Abbey Road.
I'm
gotta
going
go
to say Abbey Road. So
I'm with Rubber Soul, but
I'm with Jason.
Jacob, you're the deciding factor. Is it Abbey Road or Rubber Soul?
I'm going Abbey Road.
You're going with Abbey Road.
Abbey Road by Rubber Soul is good too. All right.
Gosling Cats, by the way, if you heard that background noise.
All right. Well, thank you all for tuning in. I never checked the comments. Oh, actually, I did get. Oh, wow. That's a lot of comments on here.
oh no.
I think a lot of these are troll comments. I don't know what some of these comments are.
Yeah, who's the
I'm not gonna-
Beatles?
Okay, I'm not gonna highlight those. But thank you for tuning in to our review of Abbey Road. We're down to the last Beatles review in the series. We got Let It Be next.
Oh, only one more. There's a lot of solo stuff
I
though.
just want to do all. We're going to do all the solo albums after this. So, yeah, we'll do Let It Be and then Sentimental Journey, Ringo's jazz album. That'll be fun. Any final thoughts before we end the stream?
You're gonna carry that way a long time.
Listen to it. It's good.
Really good album. I'm excited to start the solo Beatle journey. That's to me, that's when my my love for Paul McCartney really starts to grow, is when we get to the solo stuff.
The love you make is equal to the love you take.
Scratch that. Reverse it.
Yeah, however it goes.
Her Majesty, best Beatles song of all time. So good of a song that it's hidden from the public eye. All right, good night.
Good night, everybody.